Guess who's back? Back again. The boys are back. The original Sunday show, well, not the original, but then I made like the most, there was a period of time where the Sunday show was mostly chaos. You'd have different people every week, and then it became just Matt and I for a good year it was. And now it's usually Matt, and now we have a night show and all of those things. But whatever, we're the Sunday show crew, and I'm Jimmy Snow, and this is Matt Dillahunty. It is November 10th, 2024. 5 days since America just really, we're too early in the show. I'm not supposed to use profanity yet to try and preserve monetization. But here we are, and here a lot of you are looking for some catharsis, looking for some plans of what to do, and looking to see some debates between the people who have just fundamentally, we won't say changed, but solidified a direction that the country is going in that is counterintuitive to its founding. This sort of Christian nationalist thing is not the principles the country was founded on, and we're here to have discussions with you. So if you think that the nation should be a Christian nation, if you believe Christian nationalism is okay with you, why don't you call us and tell us why? 720-619-2288. If you believe in God and you'd like to tell us why you believe in God, why would you do that? 720-619-2288. There's also a web link in the description if you do not have the option to call from a phone. Matt Dillahunty, how are you, man?
Terrible. How are you?
I feel similar. Yes. But we have some highlights we can at least offer. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I will say, so for those who are noticing that my right eye is red, yes, I work in a dusty environment and I frequently get styes now. So I've got to work out some stuff there. But last night I got some really good news. We went to the urgent care because I have a rash thing that didn't go away. And the doctor came in and told me what was going on, gave me my prescription. And then just as we were getting ready to leave, not only did he give me permission to drink with the medication, even though I don't drink very much, so it won't make a difference, but freely told me that I'd be okay with my Delta 8 THC substitute stuff in addition to the drugs. But more importantly, he called me young and healthy. And we know that those things are not true because I was in the urgent care. I have diabetes. I've had a triple bypass. Although, despite the fact my blood pressure was elevated because of, all the stress and everything else, I am generally I am generally healthier. But to be called young and healthy was, Arden and I looked at each other and laughed. But it was a good moment.
Yeah. Hey, if that's what the data is showing him, then that's good. As far as that's good. Sort of local things. But as far as this channel goes, for those people who did not see it last night, pretty exciting for us that we have begun. Last night we did our pre fundraiser because the pre-show will actually be this Friday, and then this Saturday we're doing a fundraiser for the Secular Student Alliance because it is my belief that with everything that's gone on, and this was something that we've actually been planning for a little while, but I've also been thinking for a little while that this is going to be something necessary. And as many of you know, I thought the election would go the way the election went. Actually, not actually as bad as it's gone, but that Trump would win. Now that we're seeing that it looks like the House may also, we still got to wait. I don't want to call anything yet, but the House may also go. They may just have all branches of government for the next 4 years. I think that it is important that we right now invest in sort of the next generation, the people who are in college right now, who are building the communities that potentially replace people in their churches. And so we are supporting the Secular Student Alliance, and we're going to be doing a lot of that. And last night we did a pre-show. Owen Morgan and I did. We took calls and everything, but we also were able to, before the show, we're looking to get $35,000. The show, the actual fundraiser is not till next Saturday, and we were able to get the first $5,000 of that covered. Now, those of you who were here, I think it was last week, maybe it was the week before, I don't remember exactly when, but we did a show where there was a caller name. Oh, what was the caller's name? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's a T name though, I think. Anyway, caller called in, and this whole thing happened that resulted in the creation on air live in only a few minutes of the Shuck the Fut Up shirt, which I am now wearing and probably should have brought a steamer or an iron too, but okay. Anyway, we only sold that for 24 hours. However, because we broke the $2,000 mark last night, we promised to go ahead and put the shirt back on sale. It is set up the exact same way, where there is the cheap $22 shirt that is basically as low of a profit margin as we can do without messing up, without potentially losing money. And then there's the hoodie that basically supplements so everybody else can buy the t-shirt for cheap. And that's available for until midnight on the West Coast tonight over at linemerch.com. And then, because we also last night broke $5,000 after the fundraiser, we will open up that for another 7 days. Primarily, we want the fundraising money to go there. If you are watching today and you decide to super chat, know that this is just the normal super chat system. However, this Friday show, this Saturday show, and the show we did yesterday, if you go to any of those shows and you click the super giving button, it looks like a heart. That's like a heart in hands. That goes directly to them. And every dollar you go, no fees are taken. If you donate $5, they get $5. For this show, super chats are just normal. But we will resume on that. But yeah, I mean, that was really exciting for me. That was really, I was very, very excited for us to have something where it feels like clearly people want to do something, and this was a little bit of something to do, and that was great. The podcasts, both of them, the Line exclusive podcast and Jimmy So as a podcast, are about to start up again. So there's that as well. Go ahead, Matt.
I want to make sure we're working alongside the Secular Student Alliance, because I mean, I already seen a comment in chat that kind of sent me down this direction, and that is that younger people definitely voted for Trump at a pretty good clip, and
Yep.
I think supporting Secular Student Alliance can help us work with the Secular Student Alliance to get better information out on campuses about not just secular values, but the value of standing up in opposition to certain things. I've been baffled by the number of people who I've seen suggesting, I didn't know about that, or I didn't know about that, or I didn't know about that, or I just thought that was nonsense, or I thought that was just the left saying this, or I didn't think that was real. I didn't think this was meant. I didn't think that was serious. And now that they voted, it's wait a minute. Hey, here's what he announced he's going to do on day one. And here's what's going on here. This is not what I thought. And
yeah, buyer's remorse.
It is. There's some serious, like you did a great job last night. For anybody who hasn't seen it, go back and watch it, because I want to. Jimmy had a really long call to talk with somebody, and it was overall respectable and definitely better than, like, I'd have lost my shit 3 or 4 times during that, for real, especially this close to it. Now I can absolutely, and I'll prove it today, I can absolutely, if I want to, just sit here all relaxed and not care, or not visibly care. But I do care. And this caller was like, oh yeah, well, what about this? What about this? And Jimmy's like, well, did you hear when he said this? No. Well, would that be fascism? Yes. Well, here's where he said it. And then the caller's like, oh, I didn't know about that. And there's this mix of people who are uninformed, disinterested, and then there's another group of people who are misinformed. And this guy was calling in to basically saying, those of us on the left, we're in a little bubble and we just don't know enough about what's going on.
Yeah.
And yet at every turn where there was a fact to actually check, Jimmy proved that Jimmy knew and understand all this stuff better than the caller did. And that's kind of been consistent. What I do find is that people are like, Yeah, I think I don't quote me, but I saw somebody respond or seemed to be responding to Dawkins, as if Dawkins had said something like, "Well, people voted for Trump because they were tired of being called racist or Nazis or whatever else, and putting up with the woke left." Um, there is nothing you could call me that could have possibly got me to vote for Trump. There is no name calling you could possibly engage in that would move me off of my principles. To pretend that people were otherwise left or centrist and would have supported Kamala, but the people on the left just used words that were a little too harsh, is a ridiculous lie. Like, if we're out there and we're picking teams for dodgeball, and you say, well, I'm not going to be on your team because, you guys called somebody else a name, that I could see. Except that they're going over and supporting the guy who calls people names as what seems to be his just rhythm.
Yeah.
He's got a name for everybody, and every one of them keeps siding with him. And nobody believes that, well, I would have voted for Kamala, but you guys were too mean to Trump supporters, and so I don't want to be associated with that. Okay. There's the other thing is that you look at the people who are like, even the guy you talked to yesterday was saying, well, I think there were some problems with the 2020 election. It's funny how all of those election problems, which took place when the Democrats weren't in control. So we're going back to 2020. They're not in control, but somehow the Democrats are able to rig an election so that Biden wins. But then in 2024, when they are in control, they forgot, they couldn't, they didn't. All of a sudden, the election's just fine. Now, I don't think, and I've heard some people on the left suggesting, oh, it just doesn't make sense. There's not enough votes. There's not enough votes. That's because people didn't turn up, but all the votes hadn't been counted yet. And when you go look at, the electoral vote map, for example, California has still only reported 66% of its votes, and 66% of California's votes is almost 12 million. So that means there's probably another 4 to 4.5 million votes out there. And right now it's 71 million for Harris and 74.7 million for Trump. So even if you split those equally, now you're going to be looking at 73 million to 76.5 million. That's just for California. So turnout was actually down like 1.5% over 2020. But Trump had gains with almost every demographic, almost every state, and he won the popular vote. It's unlikely that California's votes or anything else will shift the popular vote at all. And so, we already talked about that the other day, that the popular vote matters when somebody uses it to say, oh, look, I've got a mandate. In 2016, when they elected him, he was, a surprise loser. He had lost the popular vote, but because he won the vote in the right places, the electoral vote puts him in. And he wasn't ready to be president. I remember we were going months and he still hadn't filled cabinet positions and other things like that. This was a surprise to him. And so he wasn't prepared. And despite the fact that we know what he did and we know what he screwed up, and we know that most of his closest cohorts have come out against him, from his former vice president to chiefs of staff and secretaries of joint chiefs and all kinds of stuff are saying all this stuff about him. And despite all that, he still won the popular vote. I've seen a lot of people this week saying, oh, don't worry, he's only going to get 4 years and you've survived toxic relationships that are longer than that. And I'm like, well, first of all, no, I haven't. But the notion that it'll be okay because it's only 4 years is ridiculous. What they're going to do.
But yeah, the last 4 wasn't okay.
Yeah. The plan is to make it within the bounds of reason, legally possible, for Dems to stop winning. once they have, control of everything, you don't have to do a lot. It's not like they got to suspend the Constitution. It's not like they have to, remove their right to vote or anything like that. All they've got to do is add some voter control laws, voter restriction laws, some voter ID laws, and then gerrymander just the right districts, and it's over. And right now they control every branch of the government. But when you say, hey, you've survived worse, well, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. And some of you are going to survive. I will probably be okay. I've got some issues right now that I've got to get sorted. But the odds are I will probably survive the next 4 years. I'm not so much worried about me because I'm already on a second lease on life after having triple bypass. So however long I make it, I hope it's another 30 or 40 years, assuming things improve, is fine.
Young man, healthy young man.
Yeah, healthy young man. Look at this. I'm 55, and apart from the gray, I'm not sitting here with all kinds of lines and scars and blah, blah. Anyway, if you're telling people you can weather this, and you mean it in the sense of, I got your back, we're going to help, we're going to work cooperatively to make sure that things are not as bad as they could be, fine, I get that intention. But to suggest, as some people did today, well, Missouri passed a good abortion measure, and so I'll be fine in Missouri, plus I know how to use birth control. To the person who suggested that people need to learn how to use birth control in order to stay safe, I reserve just about the harshest words I can think of for you, because there are thousands of women who have been forced to carry babies from sexual assaults. There are women who are dying and bleeding out in parking lots. This isn't just, ooh, whoops, I didn't have a condom. This is a fundamental encroachment on people's bodily autonomy. And I get it. If you're opposed to abortion, we're just not going to see eye to eye on it. As a matter of fact, there's talks about potentially doing a debate. And I don't care what anybody's opinion is about the moral evaluation of abortion. I only care whether or not it's legal or not. And that's the focus. And right now, we're trying to make sure that we protect some people's rights. But there are people who are going to die, and not just dying from sepsis, from bad pregnancies and stuff like that, but dying because he's going to be essentially eliminating, in any identifiable sense, the bulk of the trans population by declaring that there's only two genders and your gender will always match whatever's on your birth certificate and you're not allowed to change it. It is a very narrow usage and definition of gender that is going to continue to and further marginalize trans folks. But I saw a really good meme where, the LGB without the T people were helping out the ones on the right to get those awful trans folks and make sure that there aren't boys playing sports with our little girls and stuff like that. And they're like congratulating each other on taking out the trans folks. And the LGB minus the T person standing there saying, okay, who's next? And the guy on the right just stares at him. No, who's next? And he just stares at him. And then it starts to dawn. Because politics makes for strange bedfellows. And when left-leaning people join the right, we all lose. And when they're done using you to take out one group, you're on the checklist later. You should have read Project 2025. You should have learned what tariffs were and how they're actually going to work and how we will be the ones paying for them. And I saw somebody today who was like, oh, when the tariffs hit, just buy American and support your country. And I'm like, Jimmy made a great point to me yesterday, because I was toying around with this idea. It's probably a very bad idea. So just to let you know, we spitball bad ideas in private with ourselves so that when they come up on the show, we can be like, yep, already thought of that. And I was thinking, would it be viable for Democrats in the House and the Senate to just make a statement like this? Hi, we're the Democratic Party of the United States of America, and we just lost massively in the latest election. The will of the people has been heard, and we intend to support the will of the people. And so we're not going to be obstructionist on any economic issue that doesn't have a clear, identifiable negative connotation to social issues. So when they want their budget approved, we're going to rubber stamp it. When they want to increase tariffs, we're going to rubber stamp it. When they're going through and setting up all of these different things, we're just going to say approve. And then they have nothing to complain about. And they're going to set up their economic policy. And then they will have had 4 years of unobstructed, economic rule. And then we'll see, were we better off or not? And the problem with that, and I think the strongest point that Jimmy made, is that the billionaires have taken over in a big way. And the Waltons, the billionaires who co-own the Walmart, monopoly or whatever you want to call it, they get to control the pricing. And so while Harris was going after price gouging, and specifically about things related to, pandemic time and elsewhere, they can do it however they want. They can set the prices wherever they want. They can take a financial loss, which, by the way, they're not going to lose much, if anything. They're still making record profits left and right. But they can lower the price of eggs to make you think that the economy is better than it is, to get you to vote back in the right party, the party they want. Hey, tired of paying this much for eggs? If we're going to use eggs as the standard, let's just lower the price on eggs. They can eat it. It's just like exactly the same as when, Musk starts giving away $1 million a day and donating $75 million and all this stuff. They donate $75 million. And then the top billionaires made $64 billion in one day after the election. $64 billion.
They won't actually eat it either. They'll just raise the price of things like paper towels, things that you don't actually assess the economy on, but your total grocery bill won't go down, but you'll pay less for eggs and bread.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, I have, since 2020, frequently had my groceries delivered. That was one of the things that we started doing during the pandemic. And so I would put in a grocery. So I have all of my old grocery orders for the last 4 years. So I can go back and see which things increased in price and which ones didn't. That's a good thing for folks to do, but that doesn't tell you, that doesn't give you the entire picture. Anyway, I've gone on this massive long sermon and we have calls.
I got you.
Yeah, let's try and do stuff.
For people who want to know what's going to happen, like what the future political philosophies are going to be, you need to find out who Peter Thiel is, because Peter Thiel is essentially the vice president and a half of the president at this point. The fact of the matter is there's a good chance that the current vice president is going to become president, but it truly is a billionaire presidency now, and it's gonna suck. But I'm ready for whatever.
Bring it on.
You got a preference?
Well, we got theists are always going to have priority.
Yeah. You want a classic Why God Exists or the Christian nationalism call?
Sure. You pick. I'm going to try to maintain an even keel.
I'm going to step right in the pig shit. Max in Illinois, you are on the line with Jimmy and Matt. Hi, Max.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well, actually. How are you?
Good. I'm just
very happy
peachy.
about this election.
I bet you are.
I'm sure you are. All right, Max, what is the position you're here to present?
That with the current elected president, our country is just going to become stronger, more self-sufficient, and, really great and better than everyone else.
What did you say to the screener, though? Because you said that, we'll find out in a minute whether you even know what a tariff is, but you said to the screener that Christian nationalism is better to make the nation stronger and more successful, correct?
Yeah.
Why is that?
True?
Why is that? Because
Yes.
it's good to have a strong religion that brings people together, that it should be given a prominent place.
Max, even if you instantiate Christian nationalism, which, by the way, is unconstitutional, that's not going to make me a Christian. And so we're still going to have a conflict between Christian nationalism trying to rule over non-Christians. Why do you, you're opposed to religious freedom, I guess?
I mean, I'm not forcing anyone to be,
That's
Christian,
what Christian nationalism is. Max, Christian nationalism means you want the laws of the land to be Christian laws, that the Bible and that the Congress should be going to what does God and Christianity say the law should be, as opposed to the law is the law, the government is the government, and church is separate. This is why we talk about separation of church and state. Christian nationalism is the idea of both merging church and state and making sure that that church is Christianity. And that is the view you said you support.
Is this the Max that I said would never be allowed on a show while I was hosting? I think it is.
Max, were you banned and you tried to sneak your way back on?
No, I didn't. He probably didn't.
Yeah, you guys didn't ban me. So
it's fine.
Let me continue.
Keep going.
Are you sticking to that position now that you've had clarified what Christian nationalism is? Because you apparently did not know when you started the call.
Well, my view is that Christian nationalism is giving religion a prominent role in the government. Like promoting...
Religion already has a prominent role in the government because Christians and Muslims and anybody of any religion technically can get elected, and their moral values are going to be reflected in the way they vote in a democracy. We're not talking about that. We're talking about making the government say that the official religion of America is Christianity, and therefore the laws of America will reflect Christianity. It is a form of government that does not exist in modern democracies anymore, even in places like England, which has an official quote unquote church and yet is better at separation of church and state than we are now because theirs is entirely symbolic. Christian nationalism does not seek symbolism, it seeks enforcement. So are you sitting here saying, Max, I would like the government to become Christian. I would like Californians, no matter the fact that they are a state government, to have to live under Christian rule and the Christian rules as we interpret it regarding whether or not queer people can get married, whether or not people can get abortions, whatever social issue you want to talk about, you believe it should be the law that people should behave within the confines of a Christian interpretation of the Bible, whether they are Christian or not. Is that true or false?
No, that's mostly false. Not all of them.
Okay, then you don't support Christian nationalism. That is what the Christian nationalist movement seeks. Do you believe anybody in the country in any state should be able to get an abortion?
Elective with the restrictions, like 6 months.
Do you believe?
Tops.
Okay, so you believe every 6 weeks tops is the most anyone anywhere should be able to get an abortion? Is your opinion, Max? Right?
Yeah, and then later on.
Okay, so first, stop,
abnormality.
Stop, Max. Hang on. We're just going to start there. First of all, you then disagree with Donald Trump, who is apparently the guy you're stoked to have voted in, who Donald Trump said that the 6 week span in Florida goes too far, and most Republicans are working on a potential 15-week ban, because this is at least a part where most people will agree there is not a significant enough brain activity for any experience of personhood to have begun, and therefore it's no more alive or dead than any other cell in your body. So you disagree with Donald Trump, but you believe on a Christian basis that we should have a 6 week ban, correct?
First of all, I believe in popular sovereignty and states' rights. My
Hey, Max, how about you answer my questions and not the ones you want to answer?
Jimmy asked you a question, so I'm going to unmute you so you can answer Jimmy's question. Not preach.
I just gave you an answer. States' rights.
You're unmuted.
That's not an answer to Jimmy's question.
You were asked, do you believe there should be a national ban on abortion, or that in individual states people should be able to get abortions in any state? And you said only in 6 weeks. So you are in favor of banning it more at the federal level, to be clear, Max, you, a Republican, want bigger government to tell people what they can do with their bodies, even in California, whatever contrary laws they would want. You would want to restrict California to 6 weeks, and you would do so based on Christian doctrine, correct?
Not from federal government. It's states' rights. The states decide.
You just said, I asked, Max, stop. I asked you, in any state, should the abortions be legal? And you said only up to 6 weeks, meaning you want to stop others. Are you saying you are changing your mind now and you don't want the 6 week ban implemented?
I'm saying how I would vote in a state. But if a state votes majority...
Why don't you answer the question you were asked? Why don't you answer the question you were asked? Why don't you answer the question you were asked? Why don't you answer the question you were asked? Why don't you answer the question? Why don't you stop talking while I'm talking? Why don't you stop talking while I'm talking and answer the question you were asked?
It's states' rights. Can you not comprehend?
It's not an answer to the question. Never mind. I was done with Max weeks ago when I fucking said he wouldn't be allowed to call in on the show. I'm definitely done with this dishonest bullshit of not answering the fucking question that you were fucking. Right. Shut up.
Max.
Yes.
Then now you're saying it's states' rights. So you agree that if in California they don't want to ban it at all, that the Congress and Donald Trump should not put any ban that affects California. If California says all 9 months, no ban, it's between you and your doctor, the federal government should not do anything, right?
Right. If majority people vote so, then let it be so. But I would vote, like I said, 6 weeks.
Nobody asked you how you were going to vote. Not once in any of these calls has anybody said, please, Max, tell us how you vote, because I don't give a fuck how you're going to vote. Period.
You're asking what my views on what the government should do.
Sir. No, sir. I did not ask you how you were going to vote. Jimmy asked you about what you would do, what your view would be on national policy. Not about how you personally would vote, but what you think the national policy should be.
And now I have another one for you, Max. Do you believe that gay marriage should be legal at the federal level, that states can decide, or do you think that it should be legal everywhere, or for states to decide whether or not it is legal within their state?
It should be decided on state level.
Whether gay marriage is allowed, correct?
Yes.
Great. So far you have now diverted twice on two of the biggest talking points for Christian nationalists. You have called in to say Christian nationalism is what we should do. And the main proponents of Christian nationalism, being the Heritage Foundation, who are writing the laws, who are writing Project 2025, who are the Christian nationalist policymakers, are trying to do two things that you have said you're against, which is a federal ban on abortion. They will do as much as they can. So if they can get a full ban, they'll go full. If they can get a 6 week ban like you like, they'll go full. They'll go 6 week. And if they can get a 15 week, they will take whatever they can at the federal level. They also seek to overturn the Supreme Court ruling that would allow gay marriage and not return it to the states, but actually restore it to marriage between one man and one woman as a point of Christian nationalism. So far, we are 0 for 2 on you calling in and saying you are a Christian nationalist or support Christian nationalism, but you actually don't support their two greatest, the things that they are striving for the most, because some of them believe those things are causing hurricanes and shit like that. So let's go with number 3. Would you make Christianity the national religion of this country and make it a test for immigrants that they are in line with Christian values?
National religion, yes, but not a test.
Then what does it mean to make it the national religion?
It means it's an official religion that we swear an oath on the Bible, that the president takes the office swearing.
Should immigrants swear an oath on the Bible?
No, because the oath they give is a civil oath.
So you believe that the president even if the president is elected by a majority of people and he is not Christian, you who just said you would respect the majority, you would break that, and you would say no. If that president is not willing to swear on the Bible, we should cancel the vote and not take the will of the people, because that president isn't being a Christian like I think should be the official religion of the state, of the country.
No, that's a complete straw man. I would like the president.
No, it is. I asked you, a straw man is not a question, Max. I asked you a question. Is that your position, that if a non-Christian is elected as president, they either must swear on the Bible or the election be null and void because they are not a Christian and you've declared this a Christian nation?
No,
Great. Should a president have to be Christian should a person have to be Christian to run for president in a Christian nation?
No.
Great. You're up to 4 tenets of Christian nationalism that you have just broken, all in a row. I'm waiting to find the one. Which of the founding fathers was a Christian nationalist?
George Washington.
Incorrect. George Washington was a Christian. He actually declared against Christian nationalism and that the church absolutely should not be integrated with the state. While he was Christian himself, he was incredibly defiant. Who wrote the Bill of Rights and the Constitution? Mainly.
The founding fathers.
No,
Alexander
which
Hamilton.
2 people? No.
Alexander Hamilton.
No,
No.
incorrect.
Get out of
What?
musical land and come back to like Madison, Jefferson.
Except Madison and Jefferson were in the musical Hamilton. You actually learn in that they wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Look, it doesn't matter who wrote the Constitution.
Yes, it
It's
does.
just
Hang on a
document.
second.
It can
Hang
change.
on a
It
second.
doesn't matter to you.
You don't
It doesn't
know
matter
what it matters because
Hang on. It doesn't matter to you, Max, because you are already willing to set aside the Constitution. The things that you're advocating for are in fact unconstitutional. When you say, well, let's leave gay marriage up to states' rights, why not leave it up to cities to determine?
Why not? I mean, I'm not against it, but it's too
Okay,
much.
cool. In that case, why
paperwork.
not leave it up to what? Should we do the same thing for abortion? Like leave it up to the city?
Sure. In municipality.
Why
councils,
not?
yes.
Now, these are yes or no. These are simple questions. If we're going to leave it up to the city, why not just leave it up to like my neighborhood? Can my neighborhood decide what our view is on abortion?
Does your neighborhood have a clinic? Yes.
I don't need a clinic to have a position in the neighborhood. I've got a homeowners association.
Okay, sure. Yes.
So if that's the case, why can't I just decide for my own household?
Because you're a household. You're not a homeowners association.
Homeowners association is just a collection of households, just like a state. The United States is just a collection of states.
Oh,
We've taken it from
don't let him-
we've taken it from the national level down to the state level, down to the neighborhood level. But as soon as we get to I should be able to choose for my household, now you have an objection? That seems inconsistent.
Max, you only believe in government rights and not individual rights? That's bananas. You believe as soon as you are big enough to have a government, a neighborhood, though a household is a small government as well, you believe that you should not have rights separate from a government that agrees with your rights. That's wild, except for it's not, because what you actually are, Max, yes, it is. Yes, it is. You just said
No.
you would take it down to the state level, then you would take it down to the city level, then you would take it even down to the neighborhood level. But as soon as you got to the individual, you said, no, the individual should not have a choice. So you were happy with governments deciding by the will of the people, by the vote or whatever, but not individuals deciding what goes on their body. And this is what you are the typical Trump voter. I have no surprise that you are happy because you don't even know what Christian nationalism is. You don't know that James Madison wrote the Constitution. You don't know that James Madison purposefully made sure that the separation of church and state was in the Constitution. You don't know that Thomas Jefferson was also the second biggest influence on the Constitution.
Did you just
and that
say
Thomas
that's
Jefferson
irrelevant?
Yeah, I know. Max, at this point,
What,
you're just
some
a tool
old
here.
white man
I don't
wrote
care what you're
200
saying.
years ago.
Oh,
Okay,
he
Max,
just
wait,
dismissed it
Max,
as some old white man.
So Max, you
I'm
don't
sorry.
agree that the Constitution
sorry.
matters, correct?
I'm sorry, but I'm an 8.5-year veteran of the United States Navy who fought for the Constitution. I have zero interest in what some fucking dipshit thinks if he's going to throw out the Constitution in order to instantiate Christian nationalism. You don't know what you're talking about, Max. I'm sorry.
Calm
what
down.
did you interrupt me for? I'm
He
sorry.
told you to calm down.
I'm asking you a question, which is, what the fuck did you just interrupt me for?
Calm down. You cannot restore nerve cells. The Constitution is a document.
Okay, fuckface, listen up. The only reason you haven't been banned right now for telling me to calm down, as you shit on the U.S. Constitution, is that Jimmy is still here and might want to talk to you. Otherwise, I'd ban your number, ban your IP address, and I invite you to come over to my house and say that shit to my face. Because while our country is far from perfect, and while the Constitution is not ideal, we do have a Constitution, and you and your dipshit friends do not just get to come in and stomp around and throw out the Constitution because you want to control everybody else's lives and bodies, or you want to allow HOAs to do it, even though they're not government agencies, which proves that you're too stupid to fucking understand how rights go. But don't you dare tell me to calm down on my show, especially when I'm just sitting here trying to get you to stop shitting on the Constitution. Why are you in the United States, Max?
Why? Because I came here. Because I came for the better life.
Okay, but the better life is because of our Constitution that you're trying to throw out.
The government has to change with times. What can I say? You know, it was one thing 200 years ago.
It doesn't have to change. No, sir. You don't get to come over to my fucking country because you want to benefit and then say it needs to change and throw out the fucking Constitution that I fought for.
Is Max a citizen? Max, are you a citizen now?
I don't know if Max is a citizen. I doubt it.
I was always a citizen.
Are you?
I became a citizen.
Right. So
When?
why did you today, excuse me, hang on. Why did you today admit that you've broken your oath to the Constitution? Should the U.S. actually take away your citizenship? Because when you became a citizen, you swore an oath to the Constitution. And here you have said that the Constitution doesn't matter, that those are old men, and that you don't believe in the Constitution, which, by the way, includes the separation of church and state. So should they revoke your citizenship since you have broken your oath on the phone today?
That's not what I said. I said it's an amendable document which can be changed.
Sure, it's amendable, but it's amendable, but you are advocating for laws and getting rid of separation of church and state, which, by the way, something that deeply established and with as much precedent, you would actually have to basically destroy the Constitution to replace separation of church and state, or any of the main amendments. There isn't, even the Second Amendment probably can't go without the Constitution going, which is why a lot of people have given up on getting rid of the Second Amendment. But when you came in, you swore an oath, and so you lied when you affirmed the Constitution, which, by the way, Max,
swore an oath to the Constitution, did you, Max?
Max, what if Mitt Romney became... What?
I gave an oath, same as you, Matt, which is to...
No, you gave an oath to the Constitution, which you have broken.
No, you didn't give an oath the same as me. You did not give an oath the same... Okay, here, let me ask you, Max. Did you serve in the United States military?
I gave the same oath as you.
Did you serve in the fucking military, you liar?
Not yet, but I gave the same oath.
Then don't say... The answers are yes or no, Max. From now on, Max, the extent that you get to speak in my presence is yes or no. And after that, I shut it all down. You get to say yes or no. And if any other word comes out of your mouth in response to me, I will ban you. I don't care if Jimmy fires me, because you don't get to pretend that you standing up, coming to a country for opportunities, lying and swearing an oath to a Constitution that you want changed is the same thing that I did for 8.5 years of service in the military. I'm going to unmute you. And before you say yes or no, you're going to fucking apologize. So apologize for lying about the oath that you took compared to mine.
You want me to say yes or no or what?
Are you fucking so stupid that when I say other than yes or no, you have to apologize first? Apologize.
I'm sorry you feel offended.
No, that's not an apology, Max.
Fuck off.
Congratulations. I'm taking down your phone number right now.
Matt, I literally have the oath of the oath.
Shut
I
up.
muted him. Yeah, there's no point. There's no point in continuing. We've got callers on the line who are waiting. The guy doesn't know what Christian nationalism is, has broken multiple tenets of it when actually asked about it. The guy is in a cult. Let's just be very clear. Max, you can still hear me. You're in a cult. What you know is that you support Donald Trump. And what I would go out on a limb is you also would not accept a black woman as your leader, as your president. You can make certain jumps with these people. And the fact that he knows nothing about the policies that he's supposedly supporting, nothing about the position he's supposedly calling in to defend, tells me that this is just a general person who does not get good information. He has picked a side. Who knows what it is? It's going to be steeped deeply in patriarchy. And that he's just going to say, that's the side and that's my side. He has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. Every time he opened his mouth, everybody listening got a little bit dumber.
He
watching,
just a couple
I'm
days ago
sorry.
to talk about why he's voting third party. I mean, Max, congratulations. I'm going to allow you to say one word that's not yes or no, and that is goodbye. Say goodbye, Max. Never mind. You're too slow.
I'm surprised yeah, that's interesting. I didn't notice the old notes. I would have liked to have known. I'm guessing he's just a fucking contrarian, though, or he's not. And I'd have to go back and look, because what I told people a couple of weeks ago was that Republicans are pretending to be third-party voters across social media because they saw that it is easier to convince Democrats to abstain or vote third party than to actually get them to switch to Trump. And Max might have been one of the people who, when he called and was pretending to be a third party voter, I called out as one of those. I don't remember. I don't know if I was the one on November 1st, but I know that I was calling out those lately. So either he actually did vote for Trump and was one of those fake third party voters, or he just likes to call in with a contrary position to hear himself talk. Let's hope we are done with those types of calls today.
I was absolutely just wanting to fucking go through and have decent calls about God and everything else. There's a reason why Max shouldn't be calling when I'm on. And that's because Max is dishonest and stupid. And I'm happy that Max managed to come over to a country that was better, but you don't get to make it worse. So I'm in favor of deporting Max for lying.
Yeah. First, we have to revoke the citizenship on the basis that he has broken his oath to the Constitution. We'll be sending that right over to the relevant. No, there's no. He's a Trump voter. He's definitely not going to get deported. They'll keep him. They'll make an exception for him. By the way, to people in the chat who had noticed, linemerch.com, linemerch.com, and there was a sold out error on the shirts at the beginning. Apparently that was, anyway, it's fixed now. Everything's still up until midnight in California tonight. But you now will be able to correctly purchase. So enjoy.
By the way, here's the naturalization oath of allegiance to the United States of America, just so that everybody knows what it is, because most of you didn't have to say this. Most of you just got it by being born. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by that law, and that I will take this oath, and I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion, so help me God. That's a different oath than the one I took, dipshit. And I'm the one that did stuff, served for this country. you're not going to come in and fucking tell me to calm down.
I will say too, as far as things we need to change, so help me God is for sure one of them.
Yeah. Actually,
the military oath.
It's unconstitutional to require someone to say the "So help me God," just as like it's unconstitutional to require them to swear in on a Bible. But most people just do it anyway, and nobody's going to push back or fight. But yeah, the ceremonial deism that is in so many of our traditions and oaths, I'd love to see that gone.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, considering I'd like to see "In God We Trust" removed from the money. I'd like to see all kinds of things change. But considering what just happened this week, none of those things are remotely on anybody's radar.
Right. They're not happening close. Military oath is I blank to solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Oh, that's oath of office. I solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to the regulations and uniform code of military justice. So help me Buddha.
It's different in a couple different ways. First of all, I didn't have to renounce or any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty. But also, this is an important thing, that military members don't have the same rights as citizens. And this is one of the reasons why, despite the fact that I am not fond of the military, I will fiercely defend the people who did military service, in the sense that the oath that they took, military people sacrificed their rights. Like, we do not have the same rights. I do now because I'm former military. We do not have the same rights that non-military citizens have in some regards, because we have promised to follow the orders, legal orders, but you don't always get to make that determination on the fly. But we promise you follow the orders of the president and the people appointed above me. It's a different thing. It is a completely different category. And while I am thrilled for all of the legal immigrants who took their oath of allegiance to the United States, even though I have problems with any oaths, including the oath of allegiance and stuff like that, you are not taking the same thing and doing the same thing that military people do. And fuck you, Max, for suggesting that you were.
Yep. I'm ready for the next one. You want to pick the next one?
Oh, hey, I want to do this one real quick. Well, yeah, I did take it. Sorry, I meant to tell you, and I just clicked. Noah's calling from Egypt. Pronouns they, them. Noah says, "Why believe in reality?" What's going on, Noah?
Hi. Again, I'm taking the path of the skeptic. I'm still starting, and I gotta figure some things out, man. Thank you for taking my call, and I'm so sorry about your eye. I hope it gets better. Is that from
My eye's fine, but thanks.
Okay. I'm sorry about the election. I know it's really an insensitive topic to bring up when you guys have all what's going on there. But yeah,
I really kind of wanted to get to reality. I've talked about the election enough.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. So I've kind of been thinking about the Poincaré recurrence and stuff, and basically the time it takes for the universe to rearrange back to the state it is, right? And it's a much bigger number than what it. Yeah, it's basically like how many years or seconds or whatever it would take for the universe to get back to exactly the state it is in right now, right? Because
what makes you think that the universe could ever get back to the state that it's in right now?
Yeah, the assumption Poincaré made is there's a finite amount of states, and it's always changing. So it must go back to this state in a number of years, in an astronomical number of years.
No, that's not true. The universe is expanding. I see no reason to think it's ever going to get back to any particular state. Things can keep changing and never return to the way they were.
Mm-hmm. I'm not an astrologist, but I think the finite number of states is key here. But like, anyway, that's beside the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, you can find that in a Kirkazat video, I think, is it's much more likely for the universe to arrange itself to the state of a brain imagining all of the universe than to the state it's in right now. Right? So just
How do you prove
based
that?
on probability alone, just how do I phrase this? The state the universe is in right now is much more complex than a brain imagining it, so that it would randomly assort itself to the former is the latter is much more likely than the former.
Let's say
You
let's
get
say
what
you and I are
where I'm
playing.
going-
Let's
where I'm
say
coming
you
from?
and I are playing
Yeah.
poker, and I deal you a royal flush. Statistically, that's
Yeah.
incredibly unlikely. And as a magician who can manipulate cards, isn't it more likely that I intentionally dealt you a royal flush than that it happened fairly by chance?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So how do you tell when you get your royal flush? How do you tell whether it happened by chance or whether or not I did it intentionally?
I can't.
You can't. And yet you're wanting us to do that for the universe. You're wanting to pretend
No.
that there are distinctions that are identifiable based on probability when probability doesn't tell you actual. We can say, "Ooh, it's more likely
Yeah.
this than that," but that doesn't mean that you can
But when
tell
you
what
don't
the-
know,
Jesus Christ, I give up.
sorry.
Well, I gave up
Sure.
before the call began. I can't stand these types of convos. I just don't care. They're
Okay.
so, to me, the
We're just
question
going to move
is,
on, Noah.
why believe in reality? And my answer is try to make any other choice.
Yeah. I guess
Yep.
you're right.
What other choice do you have than to believe in it?
You don't have to believe in reality, but you're going to have to act as if you believe or face the consequences either way. There's no solution to the problem of hard solipsism. You can dance around and go through all kinds of stuff, but I'm done being interrupted completely for today. So thanks, Noah.
I know.
Next.
I bet you get more interruptions, though. I bet that's not the
Probably,
end.
but I've hit patience test. Bertson's calling from United Arab Emirates. Bertson is a theist, pronouns are he, him, who wants to argue about the existence of God. So, welcome,
Bertson, are you
Bertson. What's
driving?
going on?
Sounds like you're driving, Bertson.
I hope you guys are doing great.
No, are you driving, Bertson?
No, I'm not. Maybe I have like my.
Okay, well, your audio is horrible. Yeah, if you can isolate from it, that would be appreciated, because this sounds like garbage.
Oh, shit. All right. Let me take a second to do that.
I hope I don't.
All right.
road
I'm
regret
really
it.
sorry, guys.
It's all good. All right, so far this is better, I think.
Okay. All right.
Well, now your signal sucks.
So I'm like trying to answer.
No, the signal now sucks, and you sound like you're in a hallway. Bertson, this is actually worse.
Oh shit. Okay. I'll do something about that. I'm really sorry, guys. Right.
It's all good.
I hope this is better now.
Call back some other time.
All right.
Yeah, let's just try another day when you got better signal. Thanks, man. I don't know what you're saying.
I don't either. David in California, pronouns are he, him. Welcome to the show.
Hello? Oh my God. Yeah, David, please get away from all the noise. You are surrounded by background noise. Is this how you, oh my God.
I'm talking to you from a Starbucks, so I'll see if I can go out.
So walk outside. This is crazy.
Okay.
Would you do an important business call this way? My goodness. Oh my God.
Jesus
Okay, I'm muting you for a
fucking Christ.
minute. We will check in with you in 60 seconds. Go to linemerch.com and buy the Shuck the Fud Up shirt. And soon look out for new merch called How Have You Not Figured Out How to Make a Fucking Phone Call? That's going to be on a fucking, how do people not know how to make a call? You don't isolate from your background noises at all? Jesus, 2 in a row. All right, let's try this again. David in California, you're on the line with Jimmy and Matt. Nope.
Hello. Is this better or not?
No, there's still all kinds of background noise. Go to your car,
Okay.
turn on, and don't drive, but call us from the car. We're putting you back in the queue.
Okay.
Fucking. I get it. Y'all don't run shows, but the idea of in a crowd, clearly a crowded Starbucks, like this will be fine. They'll be fine with this. Who needs the audio to be any good? Isolate with a phone call. My goodness. That was David. Kevin in Oregon, you're on with Jimmy and Matt.
Hi.
Hi, Kevin. Wow, your sounds actually isolated. So far, so good. How are you, Kevin?
Yay. I'm doing okay. How about you?
You know, it's dark times in America right now, but I assume you disagree with that. So why don't you tell us what you're here to tell us?
Well, I disagree with, there's some things on the right that are just absolutely ridiculous, like denying climate change. Like you can't go outside with a thermometer and take an objective measurement of temperatures and create an average over time and see that it's rising. That shit's ridiculous. So I have problems with both sides, but
cool. If you could, just for fun, before we get to God,
yeah.
Could you name one thing from the left that is as dangerous as the denial of climate change for the survival of our species?
No. Under my view, we're facing. I talked with Forrest about this on I think last Wednesday. I have a lot of followers on Twitter under a climate account. I'm on the front lines of this stuff. What we're seeing is abrupt mass extinction, and it's when you dramatically jolt the Earth's natural systems like this in such a short period, it triggers abrupt mass extinction according to the geological record.
I'm sorry. The question that Jimmy asked was, can you name one policy from the left that is more dangerous than the denial of climate change?
I'm sorry. My answer was no. I'm sorry. My answer was no. Climate change is the most important issue because it's causing abrupt mass extinction.
Cool. So you didn't vote for Trump, I assume.
No.
Okay. So, but you're here to present your case for why God exists.
To be fair,
correct.
Kevin's called in before to say, why should I care about voting when the planet's going to go to extinction?
Thank you for noting that.
You're welcome. All right, go for it, Kevin.
What is your evidence for the existence of God?
So when I genuinely open my heart sincerely and say, hey, God, you're real. I believe in you. And I pray, I see results. And I can give you examples.
No, actually, before you give examples, can you name any other belief system which makes the same claim, or a belief in something else that makes the same claim that isn't a belief in God or isn't a belief even in just your particular God? Are you aware of any others?
I don't think so, no, because this would be the ultimate.
Okay. So when I tell you that people who believe in astrology, say, yes, if you actually look at it, you accept it, and then you start looking for the proofs of it. After you accept it, it becomes very obvious. Or when I tell you that what you just described is also the basis upon which people believe in psychics, or Mormonism, or Islam, or polytheism, non-individual gods, or animism. What is the difference between what you just told us and confirmation bias?
I'm sorry, but astrology suffers from the Barnum effect. It's demonstrably not true. What I'm speaking
I'm sorry,
of
Kevin,
is
but the same thing is true for God beliefs?
Yes.
No, sir.
Yes,
We're
yes, sir.
talking.
So
You're making
for
a
example,
category
yes, sir.
error.
No, yes, sir.
You're
For
making a
example,
category error.
so no, I'm not making a category error, Kevin. I'm sitting here
I'm
saying,
talking
I'm
about
asking
the
you,
ultimate.
Kevin, I swear your interruptions of me are going to do you absolutely zero fucking good today. Do you really want to try it? That's a question.
No.
Cool. Name a prayer that you prayed and saw results from.
Yeah, sure. I felt the evil. I felt evil. I felt the devil. I know what it feels like, and it kind of overtakes your body. And I prayed. I've been having a rough time lately, and I woke up one morning and my tire pressure light was on in my car, and I felt this overwhelming sense of like evil, and I like prayed to God. Next thing I know, the tire pressure light goes off. And
Go ahead, go away, Kevin.
All of it can be coincidence.
So here's the thing. You're going to listen.
There's no
You said
way.
when you genuinely open your heart sincerely and say, hey, God, you're real. I believe in you. And then you pray, you see results. And when I ask you for an example of a prayer that you saw results from, you say, I felt evil. I felt the devil. I know what it feels like. Now, we could have a side conversation about how you actually know what evil feels like or know what the devil feels like. But at this point, the problem is that we have no way of telling, and I have no way of telling, and I don't think that you have any way of telling whether or not when you think you feel evil, whether or not it's actually feeling evil or whether you're just convinced it feels evil. And so your big evidence for God is that you got a tire pressure light, prayed, and the tire pressure light went off. How do you demonstrate that that is in fact God?
And not the fact that tire pressure lights often go off when they're getting close to low pressure, and that the initial reading, when it's wrong, that it takes a minute for the car to figure that out and then correct it. Sometimes it even takes motion. That would be the alternative explanation. But you, with your Barnum effect thing, you're totally not looking for confirmation bias at all.
Well, I can tell you that the logical explanation would be the temperature changes that cause the air.
Okay, I'm going to mute you because I realized Jimmy interrupted and derailed what I was asking. I asked a very specific question. How do you know that that prayer was in fact answered by a God?
The same way that I know I'm conscious.
No, sir. No, sir.
Yes,
no,
sir.
sir. No, sir. You
Yes,
you
sir,
have to
yes,
demonstrate.
Sir, yes, sir.
Kevin, how you think that's going to go for you? You're on my last fucking nerve, and you already know that. So you just assert that you can know. Okay, how can anyone confirm that you are in fact correct when you suspect that you just feel God just like you feel your conscious? How can anybody verify that, including you?
I can verify it through my own personal experience. You
That's
cannot
not how that works.
Through my own.
I'm asking you how someone can verify it and how you can verify it. You can't just say, I'm convinced, and that's good enough.
I'm sorry, I missed the last. I heard you say you can't just say I'm not convinced and that's good enough. Did you say something after that?
No, I said, see, you didn't even hear me right. You can't just say,
Well,
I'm convinced, and
Cut
that's good enough. What?
What's the question? I'm sorry.
How do you fucking tell whether or not it was answered by God?
The same way I can tell I'm conscious.
No. Conscious is awareness and experience that we can confirm and independently verify. How do you do that for a God?
Yep. Okay.
How?
How do you confirm and verify that that you're conscious?
Jimmy, am I talking to you as far as we can tell?
Yep.
Cool. If I took a poll in chat, would they say I'm conscious right now?
Imagine. So they do like
Kevin,
to troll.
while I can't solve the problem of hard solipsism, once I acknowledge that I am working in a reality where I seem to be interacting with other people, there are periods of time within that reality, which I can measure by filming and everything else to show when I'm conscious and when I'm not conscious. As someone who's been unconscious for surgery, it requires independent verification of those things. What is the verification that your prayer was answered by a God?
The verification comes through first-person experience and revelation.
Go away, Kevin.
I think the way
Kevin,
you
go away.
verify your
Kevin,
consciousness first
Kevin,
through your first
go away.
experience, not
Kevin.
other people.
Okay,
I don't think
Kevin,
he's serious.
your
He's a
first
joke.
person experience is useless for everybody else, correct?
There was a beep. I heard your first person experience is useless. Correct.
Your first person experience is useless as confirmation for everybody else, correct?
Yes, that would be correct. Yes.
Cool. So why don't you answer the question that I've obviously been asking and not tell me why you're personally convinced, but why we should be convinced that you can tell when God is answering a prayer?
Well, the reason is because I'm giving you a testable method to use, and
You are
started the
not.
call with that.
You are not.
Yes,
You are not. I'm going to mute you and shut up again. You are not giving us a testable method. In fact, you just acknowledged that your method is useless to us because your method is your personal experience and understanding of that experience, which you just acknowledged is functionally useless as verification to anybody else. So you haven't
also
given
done
us
your
a
test.
testable. What?
I've also done his test before, and now
I
with a
did
better
too.
understanding.
I was a fucking Christian for 20 some odd years. I've done your method, but you haven't given us a method.
Misunderstand a lot of stuff as he does to interpret it. I basically had to have those things interrupted and intercepted by religious men who would tell me, oh, that feeling you're feeling isn't a rush of endorphins. It's not a conditioned response. That's the Holy Spirit. Trust us, bro. And now we know from brain scans and the like that that is in fact not what the case is. And this idea of I just know what evil feels like is literally the same shit when you talk to people who believe in psychics, who believe in astrology, believe in horoscopes. They have this overwhelming feeling. But again, also not even just that. It sounds like you're a Christian. I don't know if that is specifically what you are, but it is definitely the same evidence that everybody's God beliefs has, and he can't all be right at the same fucking time.
So, Kevin, how can we tell whether or not God answered your prayer?
I don't know of a way that a third party can tell
Cool.
if God answered
Then
my
call
prayer.
us
Other
back
than
when you
would have
find
to
one,
write it.
because
You just
No, no.
interrupted
Don't
me.
get rid of him.
I did interrupt you, and I'm going to hang up on your dumb ass too. Call me back when you have a method that is useful to us, because until then, all you're saying is, I'm convinced because I'm convinced. I don't have a way of convincing you. I just feel it. Well, good for you, fucker. Until you have a method. What?
I want to ask him something before you get rid of him.
Oh, I wasn't. Yeah. Until you have a method that other people can use, you might as well be saying,
I'm trying to explain.
I'm going to mute you again. Thank you for deciding, as I was unmuting you, to just go on fucking talking. This is your last chance. What method can I use to verify that God answered your prayer?
You would have to be with me all day, every day, and you would have to be here taking notes and genuinely observing me and my actions, and then observing the consequences, the prayers in action working. You'd have to be here with me. That's the best
Kevin.
you can do.
Kevin, that even if I saw you pray, and something happened, that doesn't prove that God did it.
Correct.
Then why did you just give me a method that can't? Why did you just give me a method that cannot do the thing that you say the method can do?
It sounds like to me you're asking for empirical evidence of something
Correct.
that you've already admitted there is no empirical evidence
Actually,
for.
no, Kevin.
So,
Kevin, stop talking. What I asked you for was a method. If your method doesn't provide empirical evidence, I may wind up rejecting it. But I asked you for a method. I said, what method can I use to confirm that your prayer was answered by God? And you said that I would have to be with you all day, every day, which fuck no, I'm not going to do that. Take notes, genuinely observe you, and then observe the consequences. But let's say that I genuinely observed you and saw you pray, God, I need help with this check engine light on my car. And then the check engine light went off. How does that method confirm for me that God turned off your check engine light?
it doesn't confirm that 100%.
It doesn't.
But
Correct. No, it doesn't at any percent, Kevin. And so why, when I asked you for a method to confirm this, did you give me a method that can't confirm it?
I gave you a method that can confirm it for me.
No, sir. I'm sorry,
For
but
me.
I just grabbed you and hand walked you right up there to where you acknowledged that the method you gave me to confirm something cannot confirm the thing that we set out to confirm. Why? Why are you giving me methods that don't do what you say they could do?
They do confirm it for me because
Oh my
I
God,
test-
Kevin, are you this fucking stupid? I'm about to give up, Kevin. You are genuinely fucking stupid. I've repeatedly said, that I'm talking about a method that could confirm it for us. And you said you didn't know of one. And then you said you could give one. And then you gave one. And then when I showed you demonstrably that it cannot do what you said it would do, now you're saying that it does it for you. So I'm going to try again. Kevin, is there a mechanism that you can point to that would allow me to confirm that your prayer was answered by God? Yes or no?
No, not that I know of.
Cool. Then call us back when you have such a mechanism and method, because until then, you're just spouting your personal opinion and it's fucking useless to all of us.
But I have one question about that personal method, Kevin. You said we could follow you around and you would report all of the here's the prayers, and then you would note the ways the prayers were, and that would confirm it. Now you've admitted that would actually only further confirm it for you, but not for us. How many times have you done that? How many times have you had somebody document every claim you made, every prayer you made, and not just the hits, but also the misses, so that you could compare how many hits to misses you have and see whether or not that outperforms anything else? How have you verified that you are not experiencing confirmation bias? How many times have you done the very experiment that you just told us we should participate in, though again, by your own admission, only for your benefit of confirmation?
I don't have anybody here taking notes on me. I can just
that's right. That's
give you
right.
my
Great.
personal
So you've actually not done the experiment that you're saying would confirm it for you. But not only would it confirm it for you, it potentially could reveal to you. Excuse me, I'm talking about the experiment where you are saying for your own confirmation, if you were to have somebody follow you around and take those notes and pay attention, not only would that confirm it more for you, it has the potential to reveal your own confirmation bias if that actually is the thing at play. And you're saying that is the experiment we could do, but you haven't even done that experiment to confirm it will work. Are you a Mormon, Kevin?
No, but interesting. Here's another one. I was just
no, Kevin. I don't need your side note. I don't want your side note. Do you have the access to the internet right now?
I had Mormons come to my door right as I was moving out of my apartment.
He's just going to keep telling you the story. We just told him we didn't want to fucking hear.
So, Kevin, I'm just going to mute you until I guess I'm done telling you why I'm telling you this. I'm going to read to you, Kevin, the 3 verses from the Book of Mormon. It is from Moroni chapter 3, chapter 10, verses 3 through 5. This, growing up as a Mormon, we knew this as Moroni's promise. Behold, I would exhort you that when ye shall read these things, if it be wisdom in God that ye should read them, that ye would remember how merciful the Lord hath been unto the children of men from the creation of Adam, even down until the time that ye shall receive these things and ponder it in your hearts. Now, here is the part you should really pay attention to, because you might recognize it, Kevin. And if and when ye shall receive these things, I would exhort you that ye would ask God, the eternal Father, in the name of Christ, if these things are not true. And if ye shall ask with a sincere heart, with real intent, having faith in Christ, he will manifest the truth of it unto you by the power of the Holy Ghost. And by the power of the Holy Ghost, ye may know the truth of all things. I hope you listened closely to what I just said, because that, in the Book of Mormon, is the exact method you presented to us that they say will confirm the truth of the Book of Mormon, and you say confirms your God, but not Mormonism, because as you have noted, you are not a Mormon. So if you're telling me your testimony is that your method gets you to your God, and the same exact method, when a Mormon presents it, gets you to Mormonism, what good is the method if we can get two exclusively, they cannot be true at the same time, results using the same method? Now I'm unmuting you because you sound like a Mormon. Go for it, Kevin.
Hi, that all points to theism. That all points to theism being true.
Nope.
No, it
Incorrect,
doesn't.
Kevin.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
No, it
Because the
doesn't.
second promise was a promise
Yes, it
of the
does.
truth of the Book of
It
Mormon,
doesn't.
not of a general. Kevin, shut up for a second. It does not. It is
Okay.
not a promise about the general deistic principle. In fact, if you recall, it said, and you said a similar thing, if you have faith in Christ when you ask. You said the same thing. If you accept he exists when you ask. So in both cases, you have started with already accepting, as in choosing to believe in God before you ask. So neither of them actually tell you
not
whether
true.
God exists or not. Sir, go
Yeah,
back
it's
and
absolutely
rewind the tape. You absolutely said that at the beginning. The reason why I've been sitting on this verse the whole fucking conversation is because I heard you say it, and that
I
was
can
the
quote it 'cause I wrote it
specific
down.
thing. That was the
When I
go
genuinely
for it.
open my heart and sincerely say, hey, God, you're real, I believe in you. That's
Yes.
word for word
Theism.
what you said.
That's right. Theism. I'm arguing for theism.
you-
Correct.
No, that is
No.
that
Theism
means
is
you've
true.
already accepted theism, sir. You've already accepted theism is
Yeah,
true when
it's
you're
based on
doing
the
whatever
evidence.
this challenge is.
No,
That is
you
like
don't.
me
You're
saying,
beginning
Based
with
on the
theism.
evidence.
No,
Correct.
you're not.
You
What is the
begun-
evidence?
No. I
What is the
listened to you
evidence?
guys for years. I would be an atheist
You're so dumb.
if I wasn't able to test and
No,
have
you'd
these
be an
things
atheist if
come
you were
true.
smarter. But you're not.
you
We keep
you
asking you
can't
for
even
methods
follow
and
your own
mechanisms.
arguments.
What?
I'm arguing for theism.
No, when you say that you start by saying, hey, God, you're real, that's not an argument for theism. That is beginning with accepting
I didn't-
theism.
That's not where it started. That's not where it started. I said it starts with your conscience.
It literally, here you go. When I genuinely open my heart and sincerely say, hey, God, you're real, I believe in you.
Yes,
So
correct.
that is the start of your test, because then you go and pray and evaluate the results. But there's no reason to pray and evaluate results, because at the start of that, you started with, hey, God, you're real, I believe in you.
Yes, you have to be genuine and sincere.
Sure. So what you're saying is you have to believe first, and then you'll get the evidence.
I didn't believe either way, but I sincerely
Well, that's not what you
opened
said.
my heart.
How can you say you didn't believe either way when you literally said, when I genuinely,
Matt.
shut up, shut your fucking
Go ahead.
pie hole while I'm talking.
All righty.
You said, when I genuinely open my heart sincerely and say, hey, God, you're real, I believe in you. That's what you said. And then you pray and you see results. Well, there's no reason to pray and see results,
Right.
because that's not evidence for a God. And you've already begun with God belief. We need evidence for the God belief.
Demonstrably not true.
No, it's
demonstrably not
okay.
true. I start
Only
with
because
I
you're
am
stupid.
conscious. I think, therefore,
Only
I am.
because you're
So
stupid,
dumb.
Kevin.
I start with I am conscious. I am conscious. I am alive.
That's not what you said
where we
earlier.
start.
Okay, fine. Here we go. I'm going to start writing a syllogism. I am conscious. I am conscious. I have that down.
Okay.
What's the
Can you
next thing that has to
demonstrate that?
happen? What's the next thing after I am
demonstrate
conscious?
Premise one. No,
I'm sorry.
no,
What's the next?
premise
I'm sorry.
one.
What's the next thing?
Demonstrate
This is your
premise one.
Okay, Kevin.
It's your syllogism,
I don't need
idiot.
to demonstrate your fucking argument for you, dipshit. Stop asking me to demonstrate what you just asserted. You dumb motherfucker. You
He's
said
literally
you
building
started
your
with I
syllogism
am
for you.
conscious. I don't need to justify you starting with I am conscious. But I wrote it down anyway because I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. But you are dumber than a fucking fence post. You're not conscious. You need to go get checked to see if you're actually conscious. If you think that I need to defend your first fucking premise. What comes after I'm conscious?
Are you asking me?
Yes, Kevin, I'm asking you what comes after I am conscious.
I thought you were helping me out building this syllogism, man. Okay.
Okay,
I am
here,
conscious.
shut up. No, shut up. You thought I was helping you out building a syllogism. And so when I asked what comes after I am conscious, you're not aware, despite you thinking that I'm here to help you. You're not aware that I'm asking you for the next thing in this. You start with I am conscious. What comes after that?
Well, and based on the fact that I am conscious, the same method I use to determine that I am conscious is the same method used to determine that God exists, that theism is true.
So you don't know what a
I don't know
syllogism
how
is,
we
Kevin?
would put that in a premise.
No,
I
he
know what a
doesn't.
fucking
He doesn't know.
syllogism is. I
No,
I
you
can't
don't.
do a syllogism on the fly. You got to give me
Well,
some
that's
time
your
to think
fucking
about this.
problem, because some of us here do syllogisms on the fly and deconstruct them on the fly like crazy. Maybe call back when you're prepared to present an actual fucking argument backed by actual fucking evidence. It's not my fault that you can't do this. Maybe call back when you
fault.
can, Kevin.
No. Okay.
Call back when you can.
Kevin,
You're asking
and
for
I'll be
empirical
excited to hear
evidence,
from you.
And then you're
I'm excited for when you call in and just admit it turns out I'm a dirtbag presuppositionalist who didn't know because I don't actually know what these things are and what words these mean.
I know what
you're
all of
basically
it
going
is.
to try and
You're trying to
No,
act
you-
like that's
and
ad
yet you don't.
hom,
And yet you don't.
ad hominem,
And yet you don't.
ad hom.
except Kevin,
I'm sorry.
except
Ad
Kevin,
hominem's
it's not
only
an
a
ad hominem unless
fallacy. It's
if we're
only a
engaged in an
fallacy
argument.
if we say you're wrong because you're stupid. If I just point out that you're stupid, that's not an ad hominem
Demonstrate
fallacy.
premise one.
That's just a.
It was
I
your
don't need to-
premise, you idiot.
It's your premise. You are literally the stupidest person I've talked to all week, and I've been arguing with Trumpers.
Oh my
It's your
God.
premise. You demonstrate your conscience right now.
There you go again, asking for empirical evidence for things you've already.
Okay, I'm muting you again, Kevin, because the words empirical evidence never left my fucking mouth. All I said was demonstrate that you're conscious. Why are you a fucking liar
That you're
in
conscious.
every one of these conversations? I didn't say anything about empirical evidence, did I?
So you're not
Did I?
asking for empirical evidence. Are you asking
Kevin.
for
Oh, so
empirical
you're
evidence
not,
or
you
not?
suck at this, man.
Kevin,
You so suck
You
at this.
you are so close. I'm going to try this one more time. Kevin, listen. Did I ask you for empirical evidence? Yes or no?
Yeah, yes, that's what you're. That's what
Liar!
you're
You
getting at.
fucking liar! You're a lying liar who lies. You are a garbage
I asked
thinking,
you a question.
lying piece of
Do you
shit.
require
I asked
empirical
you.
evidence?
I asked you to demonstrate that you're conscious. I didn't tell you how to do it, and I never mentioned empirical evidence. And how can you be so stupid as to lie while you're being recorded for a show on the internet?
Your laugh
Sir,
sucks too, buddy.
You're asking for empirical evidence. What is the definition of a hypocrite? Let's go there. Because you're asking
I love
for
this,
empirical
Kevin.
evidence
Kevin,
for
he
something
literally,
that you don't
he
believe.
literally just explained to you. He literally
Let me
just
ask you this.
explained to you that he wasn't.
No, you don't have to ask
give
us
us
anything,
a good
Kevin.
method of evidence.
What?
Give us a good method
Oh
of
my
evidence
God.
that's other than empirical that you can prove actually works. Because so far, you have tried to present this idea that you have an empirical argument, but it's subjective empiricism. It's empirical to just you. And if only we would adopt it the way the Book of Mormon promises, if we would adopt it for the Book of Mormon, we would have the faith in your God the way Mormons have the faith in their Book of Mormon for the same reason. Kevin, you are one of those people who seems like you listen to people who are smarter than you on these things. You try to absorb their words and repeat them. And then when you actually get put in a corner, you can't admit you actually don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Even close. You are uniquely terrible at this.
Do you believe there's empirical evidence for God? Yes or no?
Sorry, you don't get to
Do you
ask
believe
us
in
any
magic
questions.
in a young
Kevin.
girl's heart?
I asked you a question, which was to defend your first your first premise is I am conscious, and I asked you to defend it.
Yeah.
Are you going to do that?
You can't demonstrate that. Can you defend that
I'm
premise?
sorry,
Can you
Kevin.
defend that
It's
premise?
your
Kevin,
premise.
Kevin, I didn't assert that premise. It is the first premise of your argument. I'm asking you to defend it. Will you do that or not?
Yes, you're asking for empirical evidence, even though you believe
No,
there is no.
sir. No, sir. No, sir. I didn't tell you how you must defend it, and I did not ask for empirical evidence. You are a lying fucking liar. You're a liar, Kevin. You repeatedly, and I've got it all recorded here. When I asked you, are you going to defend your first premise that you are conscious? The premise being, quote, I am conscious. You kept coming back with, can you defend it? I don't need to defend your premise. I'm sorry that you're too stupid to see that. That's not my job. It's your job. And when you come back,
if I wanted to, though.
And we already potentially did some of that. But so here we go. Are you going to defend your first premise that you're conscious? Yes or no? The answer is
Yes.
no.
Nope.
You're done. All right. Let's see if we get an actual theist who wants to honestly engage.
That was some silly times. Silly times in these parts.
We got theists wanting to talk about the election.
Let's do that.
Oh.
I don't know if I have. I probably won't be able to do the last hour with you. My body's fading, so I'm distracting myself by continuing to build my marble thing.
Well, Bertson's back. Says he's fixed the issue, so he's calling in to argue for the existence of God.
Tight.
Exactly. I hope you guys can hear me now perfectly.
Yep. Sounds good so far.
All right. So basically, I'm here to argue for the existence of God and to show why atheism is more consistent with reality than atheism. And firstly, I would like to give my own definition. I would like to give my own definition of God. I see God as the necessary existence for the universe to exist and for the laws of logic to be considered absolute truth.
Yeah, I
reject that definition because this is called an equivocation fallacy. If you can just on the fly change it to, that's like me going like this, buddy, and I know you're going to feel like it's different, but it isn't. I define God as this pen. Now, are you going to deny that this pen exists? We both see the pen. We both acknowledge the pen exists. So are you really going to say you're not a theist? Because to say you're not a theist is to deny the existence of this pen. You're committing an equivocation fallacy going, I believe in God. God exists and the best arguments are for God. Now, when you say you don't, I will redefine the term in a way that makes it ridiculous for you to say that you don't believe in God. And that is not any way this is supposed to work. And I reject your definition.
Wait.
Do you believe in a supernatural God? Do you believe in a supernatural God?
It depends on what you mean by supernatural, actually, because there are certain things that I think just transcend nature, like the laws of logic, for example. I think the laws of logic transcend nature as a whole. So I can call that supernatural.
Except for
it
they
just
don't.
Depends on what we mean by supernatural.
Except for that they don't. The laws of logic are observed in nature, therefore do not escape nature.
Except the laws of logic.
Okay, so the laws of logic are observed in. What did you just say? You just said the laws of logic are observed in nature, right?
We only have nature. Only things we can observe. Right. We only know about the laws of logic because we've observed and described them.
because you have observed and you live in a society that's built upon the law, where we have used the laws of logic to shape things. It's not like you observe the laws of logic. You don't observe the laws
Yes,
of
it
logic.
is like that.
We have used
It
the laws of
absolutely
logic to
is like
build.
that. It is absolutely like we have observed the laws of logic and refined them and gotten better at being consistent with the way the laws of logic operate in our universe. It absolutely is like that.
Okay, perfect. From the theist worldview, we believe that the laws of logic originate from the mind of God, and God's mind is infallible, so the laws of logic.
Excellent. So you believe that the God, nope, hang on. If I am creating this marble puzzle right here, it's originating from me, but it is separate from me.
Exactly.
So you need to prove the God. You can't have the puzzle without me and say this puzzle is proof of Jimmy. You have to prove Jimmy exists, because I might not exist in this metaphor. So just pointing to the puzzle that you believe comes from Jimmy, until you prove Jimmy exists, you can't say the puzzle comes from Jimmy. Similarly, with the laws of logic, just because you have the laws of logic that you believe are dependent on a God, if you don't have a Jimmy to show that the marble puzzle was built by, you can't connect the two. So you must demonstrate the God independent of the thing you think. This is nothing different. It just sounds smarter, Bertson. This sounds smarter than look at the trees, but this is the look at the trees argument.
All right. Let me correct what you said a bit, because you just said something like the laws of we have the laws of logic, and I have to prove to you that God exists. There is no such thing as I have to prove to you that God exists. I cannot prove to you that God exists. If you want me to believe in it, that God doesn't exist.
Excuse me, sir. Yep. You said at the beginning that your worldview is more consistent with reality than ours, yours being theism and ours being atheism. Reality is also something we observe. Reality is also in many ways measurable. So you cannot say that it is consistent with reality, because that which is in reality is that which we can prove and measure. Anything we can't is either so far... yes, you absolutely can.
No, you can't.
Everything outside of that.
Logic, it still takes the laws of logic. You cannot prove the laws of logic. You cannot prove any of the fundamental laws of logic are true. You cannot do that. I'm very convinced that you cannot do that. Can you test and
confirm them consistently, Bertson, and make the most reasonable conclusion is that they remain consistent?
You are using the laws of logic to conclude that the laws of logic are consistent.
Bertson, answer my question only. Can you verify the consistency of the laws of logic?
Yeah, we can do that, because we already assume
Can you do anything comparable with your God?
Can I verify the existence of God? Is that what you mean?
Can you do anything similar? You're sitting there and saying that similarly to the way we can't do anything about the laws of logic, you can't do anything about God. So I asked you about a thing we could do with the laws of logic, and asked you if you could do something similar with your God. And it seems like you are acknowledging that no, you cannot. You will not see a similar level of...
That's exactly what I said. That's what I said. I said I cannot prove to you that God exists.
Oh my goodness!
The same way you cannot prove that God doesn't exist. So we
don't need to prove that God doesn't exist. The burden of proof is
I know you don't need to do that.
Exactly.
I know that already. So you don't have to remind me about it.
Would you stop telling me what you know, and would you listen?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. If someone believes that a God exists, they have adopted a burden of proof. If they don't want to meet it, never mind. I'm done with people who don't shut up.
I'm listening.
No, you're not.
I'm listening to what you're saying. What do you mean by people doing? What do you mean? I haven't said a thing, so I'm just listening.
Yes, you have. You've repeatedly interjected. Repeatedly.
What are you talking about? I haven't said a thing. I'm just listening to you. I haven't said nothing. I don't know.
Replay the tape, buddy.
Replay it. You're sitting there constantly affirming, and all that is noise.
Okay, let's do this again. See what you had to say.
Let's do this again, where you stop talking and listen. right?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
If someone believes in a God, they don't have to prove that to anybody, but they have a position that carries with it a burden of proof. Agree?
Yes.
Cool. This show is about getting people to call in and defend that burden of proof, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're looking for is people who will call in to defend the God proposition. And you're saying you can't demonstrate that a God exists, which is exactly what we're wanting you to do. So why call in?
That's not what I said.
What?
That's not what I said.
Can you demonstrate that a God exists?
That God exists.
No.
Yes, I have.
I don't care. Stop. When you say prove, all I want, I'm not talking about mathematics. I'm talking about an evidence-based argument that demonstrates that it is more reasonable to believe that a God exists than to not believe that a God exists. Can you do that?
Yes.
Cool. That's what we're asking. Stop telling us you couldn't do it. Just do it.
Okay. And that's exactly why I spoke up. That's why I started by saying that I cannot prove beyond reasonable doubt that God.
No, sir. No, sir. You didn't say beyond reasonable doubt. This is the first time the words beyond reasonable doubt are leaving. We didn't ask, why are you going off to say that at the beginning you said you can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt when you absolutely did not say that and nobody has asked you to do that? We're not asking you to do anything beyond a reasonable doubt. We're asking you to demonstrate why it's more reasonable to believe that a God exists than to not believe.
All right. So I have the laws. I have the truth of the laws of logic as one of the reasons why I believe that a God exists. Because from a naturalistic point of view, I don't see any means by which you can consider the laws of logic absolute truth.
That's a fallacy, because whether or not you can see them as absolute truth from a naturalistic perspective is irrelevant to whether or not they are in fact absolute. We have no way of demonstrating that they are absolute. We just begin with that assumption, because in order to prove that they weren't absolute, you would need to assume that they're absolute to do it. So you would have to assume that they're true in order to demonstrate that they're not true. And so we rely on identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle, those foundations, because as a practical necessity, we have to have some way to reason. And those are the models that are demonstrated in a single circle on a Venn diagram to be a good description of the world. Whether or not they're always true under all circumstances, we have no way of knowing.
All right. That's why I say the theistic worldview makes more sense than the atheistic worldview, because in the
no, it doesn't, because all your no, it doesn't, because then all you're arguing is that essentially, because you can point. Yes, I know that. You are essentially arguing that because you accept that most of us accept something as an axiom, therefore just adding additional axioms is acceptable, and I reject that. You have an unjustified axiom that logic, that something must precede the logic, and you don't have anything justified, and that thing must be an intelligent being. And by the way, Bertson, which God are you talking about? I bet I know, but let's find out.
Hold on, that's a completely different. That's a different topic. What I'm saying is,
no, it isn't. It definitely is not. It definitely is not, because if I'm familiar with your worldview, I will be able to see whether or not you're even consistent with the God that you are actually here professing to believe in. I already know what the answer is, because I know what these precept calls always are. But go ahead, Bertson. Which God is it?
As a theist. We have a justification for the truth of the laws of logic. We don't just presuppose that the laws of logic are true and then carry.
I asked you a question. You don't have the option to ignore it. Which God do you believe in?
I don't speak for 1 minute. I'm unable to say anything before I want to speak. You guys interrupt me. You guys.
Okay, I'm muting you. Welcome to the show. Jimmy and I are here. There's a little delay. When we ask you a question, that's the question we'd like you to ask, because some of us have done this for 20 years, already know everything that you think and are going to say, and have dealt with it over and over and over again. And so we're asking the questions that might be helpful to you and might be helpful to people who share your view. Now, I don't really care which God you're advocating for, but Jimmy's asked. So what's the problem with just saying the God I'm advocating for is this one? Why is that so a problem?
Okay, let me do that. to the Christian God. Let's do the Christian God.
No, not let's do. Is the Christian God your God?
The Christian God.
Is that the God you pray to? Yes or no? The Christian God.
I didn't tell you that I pray. I just said I'm advocating for the Christian God. I'm here defending the Christian God, so it's not about prayer.
Is the Christian God your God?
Exactly.
No.
You don't say exactly.
Yes
That's a question.
or no? Is the Christian God the God you personally believe in and pray to?
Yes. Yes.
So Jesus Christ is your personal Lord and Savior?
Yes.
He died on the cross for your sins that you may be redeemed.
Cool.
Yes.
Now, let's assume for a second. Let's get back to this thing on logic, Bertson. You and I are at least in agreement that just stop saying yes. You and I are in agreement that the laws of logic seem to be reliable. We don't necessarily agree whether or not they are inviolate, correct?
Say that again. Can you do that again?
You and I agree that the laws of logic seem reliable, but we may not agree on whether or not they are inviolate, whether or not they are absolute.
No, me and you don't. That's the difference. I believe that the laws of logic are absolutely true. You believe that they seem reliable. That's the difference.
Listen to me. You and I agree that the laws of logic are reliable, correct?
Yes.
We disagree on whether they're absolute, correct?
No, exactly. That's where we disagree, yes.
Which is what I said the first time, and you said no.
Okay. So let me put it like this. I believe
I don't need you to put anything like anything. I don't need you to put anything like anything. I need you to listen and listen more carefully because we just wasted time rehashing stuff. So you and I agreed that the laws of logic seem reliable, may or may not be absolute, but you think they're absolute, but we don't have a way to confirm that. So you think that theism gives you a way to confirm that, right?
Yes.
How does the assumption of theism confirm that the laws of logic are in fact absolute?
Okay. You said theism gives me a confirmation that the laws of logic are true. I never said any of that. What I said is we have a justification for the truth, the absolute truth of the laws of logic. So we don't just appeal to the laws of logic, hoping that they are true or hoping that they are not true.
What is the justification?
We believe that the laws of logic originate from the mind of God, a mind which is infallible. The laws of logic are absolutely true.
Bertson, does the fact that you believe it originates from the mind of God mean that it does originate from the mind of God?
No, it doesn't prove that.
Then why did you bring that up?
Okay, and this all comes back to what I said in the beginning. What I said was I cannot prove that God exists.
Stop and listen. I'm genuinely just trying to help here. So, you said that you believe that the laws of logic emanate from the mind of God, and I would agree with you that if in fact there is a God who is in fact the foundation of logic, it would be reasonable to conclude that the laws of logic emanate from that God. But you don't get to assume those things when the reality may be that logic doesn't have a foundation. There is no guarantor of absolute inviolability.
All right. Can I like ask a question?
No, you can tell me what I just said. You can tell me what I just said.
No, let me just ask a question.
Tell me what I just said because I'm fucking sick and tired of listening to you and not being listened to. What did I just say?
I'm listening to what you just said. We cannot just assume that the laws of logic.
What did I just say?
You said we can't just assume that the laws of logic originate from the mind of a God because we have no way of showing that. That's what I understood from what you just said.
That's not exactly what I just said, but it's closer. Why was that so hard? Why are you making this so difficult, Bertson? What did I say that was not true?
I'm not making it difficult. It's just you
Yes, you
don't
are.
allow me to
You
lay
are
out my point, so maybe you don't get exactly everything that I want
making
to
it
say.
more difficult. What did I say that was wrong?
You didn't say anything that was wrong, actually. You said nothing wrong.
Thank you for acknowledging that I'm right. Now, we have the laws of logic, and you think that there needs to be a reason why the laws of logic are absolute. I'm not convinced. So convince me that the laws of logic must in fact be absolute and that we have access to the foundation that confirms it.
So if the laws of logic are not absolutely true, why should anyone believe anything? Why should I believe even what you just said now? Why should I believe what you just said now?
That's a fallacy. That is a fallacy. You're making an appeal to consequences. That's called argumentum ad baculum. It is a logical fallacy. When I ask you to demonstrate something, it's best if you don't start with a logical fallacy.
All right. So if the laws of logic, if there is any chance at all that the laws of logic could be wrong, then I don't see any reason why 1 times 1 isn't equal to 2.
If I have a calculator and there's any chance at all that the calculator could give the wrong answer, does that mean that I have no idea whether or not the answer is right at any given time?
I like that he thought restating his fallacy in a different way would save him somehow.
Yeah.
We appeal to the laws of logic for everything that
I'm sorry,
we do.
the question I asked had nothing to do with what you're actually saying right now.
Wild.
All right. Can I get the question again?
No. You can go rewind and listen to the question and call back. Because today, I am done repeating myself to people who don't listen. Here's the reality on the laws of logic, to whatever extent we want to talk about them. It's a cumbersome and clumsy topic, but there are people who think, hang on, logic, identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle, these 3 things seem to be absolute and reliable, and reliably absolute. And there must be some justification for this. There must be some grounding for this. The problem is that even if they are in fact reliable, that doesn't mean that you have any way of knowing that they're absolute. They could be absolutely reliable and you may have no way of ever knowing that. And if they were absolutely reliable, that does not mean that there must be a grounding behind them. No reason they couldn't serve as a ground unto themselves. They are in fact descriptive and not prescriptive. They, by the way, are true or seemingly true in the sense that you can conceptualize these things as abstracts, even if nothing exists. If there's no universe, no multiverse, no nothing, everything still is what it is, isn't what it isn't, and everything either is or isn't. It's just the case that there's nothing. But in the absence of anything, it appears that identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle are true. As a matter of fact, in the entire history of the world, nobody's been able to come up with any set of circumstances where any of those aren't true. We can find paradoxes and problems, but paradoxes and problems relate to the content. The laws of logic relate to the structure. And the best way that I've come up with to think about them is to imagine a Venn diagram with a single circle. But we'll use my head here, which has got a really red eye right now, which is annoying me when I look at it. But let's just use my head as the circle. In that sense, what's in the circle is A, and everything outside the circle is not A. And so with just one circle in the Venn diagram, it's saying everything is either A, inside my head, inside the circle, let's start with head, not A, which means outside of that, and everything is either one of those and nothing is neither of those and nothing is both of those. That's all that the laws of logic are saying. If you think that there needs to be some reason that it's true for something that is descriptive of, the set of things, existence, including, that would also include if nothing exists, then why not just point to the set? But instead, a number of reasonably intelligent people have become convinced that the laws of logic need to have some sort of agent guaranteeing that they never go astray, as if the speed limit needs to be enforced by, laying, having someone sit there and hold your car so that it doesn't go faster than 55, or that because that's a descriptive law or a prescriptive law, not a descriptive one. Let's switch it to the speed of light. What makes the speed of light? What makes it so that nothing's going faster than the speed of light? Is there a God standing there holding things back so that it can't go? Nope, you've gone to the speed of light. You cannot go any further. I, God, sit here to guarantee it. Because in the absence of me, you might be able to go faster than the speed of light. It may just be the case that it's impossible to go faster than that. And it may just be the case that the laws of logic are inviolate, that they cannot be violated. However, if they are that way, that doesn't mean we have access to know how or why they're that way. And there's no demonstration that the reason they're that way must be an intelligent being seeking to impose that. And so you can presuppose God all you want to serve as a grounding or foundation for logic or morality or whichever one of those presuppositional arguments you want. And all you've done in every single one of them is say, here's a problem with reality. I'm going to go with the panacea, the all-knowing, all-thinking. God somehow magically means that thing that serves as the foundation. And that's why, some of the callers are like, oh, I'm not defending a particular God. I'm just defending theism because there needs to be some grounding for logic or reality. No, you know what there needs to be? Not a grounding, humility. In acknowledging that while it seems that the laws of logic are inviolate and reliable, that you don't have any way to prove that. Absolutely, which is what he kind of started with. And that assuming there's a God to serve as a ground is basically just saying, I don't know, but I'm going to trust that I've got a magic friend that knows. It is a give up move. Why am I, Brent J just asked in chat why I was so grumpy. I'm grumpy for a lot of reasons, Brent. First of all, my country just elected the worst person who's ever served in office to serve again. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I sit here and I listen and I think and I take notes and I ask questions that people don't answer over and over and over again. And that makes me grumpy. I hope that's a clear answer to your question.
I'm grumpy because I seem to have lost a little piece. I don't know how to find it. I have a laser cutter of my own if I can get the specs. I lost a little thing that's supposed to keep my handle together. Arden, are you okay to take back over? Come back in?
Yep. I'm good now.
I'm pretty much good to go. Bye, everybody. Linemerch.com. Get your Shuck the Fud Up shirt. It goes off again at midnight. And then don't forget to support the fundraiser this weekend. Love you all.
Bye, Jimmy.
I look like I have a
Love you
mullet.
too, bud. Get better. Talk to you later. Hey, look, there's somebody entirely new here.
Hello. Hi. I kind of forgot I was on camera for a second because I was watching Jimmy and I'd be like, oh, is he going to click out or what's going on? I was like, oh shit, right, I'm on camera. Hey, everyone. What's up? Let me look at the calls. I haven't looked at the calls in a hot minute.
I already have one queued up that I started before I knew Jimmy was bowing out right then. But
okay.
So David's a theist from California. Pronouns are he, him. Thanks for waiting, David. You want to talk about the election? Oh boy. What about it?
Yeah, there's so many areas I'd like to go into. Let's say I deal with a lot of people who don't like Trump. Let's say the term about Christian nationalism, it just means to me, it's a new term. How about just a right winger, conservatives, what most Republicans are. What are the policies of Trump that you disagree with? Just off the top of your head, really quickly, if you want.
The policies of Trump that I disagree with. I don't think climate change is a hoax. I think queer people should have rights. I think trans people should have rights. I would prefer a better economy that was sanctioned by the more economic experts. I don't share his view on the people who are previous employees of his, previous chiefs of staff and attorneys general and other things who have come out and said that he's fascist and dangerous. I oppose Project 2025. I oppose his tariff plan because Americans will end up paying for it.
Wow, David, where are you? What the fuck?
Okay, can we talk about illegal immigration? Do you believe that it's a problem in America? Do you
Yes.
believe it's something? I mean, it obviously is, right?
I just said yes.
It's overwhelming in Southern
Why is it?
California.
David, why is it that when you asked me what things I disagree with Trump on, I gave you an entire list that didn't include immigration at all, and yet your first question after that long list was to ask about immigration? Why?
Okay, I agree about the environmental is a
I'm
problem.
sorry, David. But I'm sorry, David. Sorry, David. But my question was, you asked me what I disagreed with. I gave you a long list. Immigration wasn't on it, and you ignored my list and immediately went to immigration. Why?
Well, because I don't feel strongly about the ones that you named. Like I just said,
Okay.
I don't agree with everything he says about the environment. I believe, and by the way, the environmental protection, the government section of the environment was started under Richard Nixon, right, who was a Republican. So there are Republicans that believe that we should do something.
David, did I say anything at all about Republicans in the entirety of this call?
No,
David,
but, I mean,
where are you?
No.
David, stop talking. Where are you? This background noise is not going to be doable for us. You got to stop whatever's going on in the background right now.
Okay, I went to a quieter place because you said that it was noise. I went outside of us. I was in a Starbucks, and now I'm like outside. So they're away from cars. So I'm sorry.
Well, call us when you're home or something, because honestly, at this point, when somebody calls in and says, "Hey, what do you disagree with Trump on?" and I give them a laundry list, and then they immediately ignore that entire list, go to another issue that I didn't say anything about, and then when I push back and ask about it, you're like, "Oh, I didn't feel strongly about these." What do you feel strongly about?
I feel strongly about illegal immigration. I'm
Cool.
pro-life.
Are you in favor? Are you in favor of Trump's plan to deport millions of illegal immigrants?
Yes.
What impact will that have on the economy, according to the experts?
Well, according to your experts, I mean,
No. I don't have any experts, David. David, I don't have any experts. I said according to the experts. Experts on immigration and economy, there is a consensus among them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the consensus among those experts?
There's probably 20 or 30 undocumented immigrants in this country who are taking government checks.
David, why are you not answering the questions that I asked?
Violating
you
the
don't
laws.
know? David, why are you not questioning why are you not answering the question I asked? Is it because you don't know? You can just say you don't know.
Okay. Well, have you read Ann Coulter's book about that?
No, I don't read shit from Ann Coulter. I don't read shit from Ann Coulter because Ann Coulter isn't an expert on anything. She has no qualifications, no experience, and no data to cite on this. I go with the actual immigration experts. If you would start actually listening to experts, you'd have a better understanding of this as well.
Okay, do you agree that it's wrong to enter a country illegally?
Yes.
Okay, fine. We agree
There
on
are
that.
exceptions, by the way. There are still exceptions. It may be illegal for me to enter a country, but I might have to do it anyway.
Well, what do you mean you might have to?
Maybe if you're fleeing violence, David, maybe most of the reasons that immigrants come to this country because they can't afford to feed their family in the country they're from, or because there's threats of violence in their places that they're from. Maybe those are reasons that people immigrate.
David, are you a Christian?
Yes.
What do you think Jesus thinks about immigrants?
I think he says to obey the law. The law and the prophets will not go away.
Nice.
No. That passage is not about immigration. When it says the law and the prophets will not go away, it's talking about Old Testament things. The portions of the Old Testament are divided into segments. There is the law and there is the prophets. Those are collections of books. And what Jesus is saying there is that the stuff in those books isn't going to change. What do you think Jesus' take is on immigration and immigrants?
Well, I mean, you're asking a question. It's really not, I don't believe it's answered in the New Testament.
You know what? I'm going to be real. David, your audio is so shit, and you're just kind of like dodging the question because you want to uphold your racism. So I don't know if I really give a shit about anything David has to say. It's bad a call. It's not going to be clippable.
So, David, Do you know what it says in Leviticus, for example, that it says the alien who resides with you shall be to you as the citizen among you. You shall love the alien as yourself, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I'm the Lord your God. Why are you so anti-immigrant and you're supposed to treat those aliens. It doesn't say look for their papers. It doesn't say the alien who resides with you legally. It just says amongst those people who are in your land, you should treat them as citizens. That's what the Bible says.
Okay. Did you see the beginning of The Godfather Part 2?
What?
Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, David.
Oh my fucking
David,
God.
I have no more interest in talking to you because I love the person who's already irritated that I'm continuing to allow you to talk. I have no interest in having conversations with Christians who don't know their Bible, Christians who don't know the positions on this, Christians who, when confronted with their Bible, which is absolutely pro-slavery as well as pro-nice to turn the other cheek and immigrant and all that stuff, you are too ignorant of your own religion and the facts of reality for me to continue having a conversation with you about the election. Thanks.
Bye. I also think it's curious that on the list of things that you care about that you brought up, one of them was tariffs and the economy. And he said, I don't care about those things. So apparently, David just doesn't care about the economy and the fact that, we're all going to be paying 20% tax on every import, which is going to affect our groceries, cars. It's going to affect like a massive portion of our economy. But who cares? Because brown people are coming into the country.
Where's the biggest problem with immigration, honey?
I mean, there is a threshold that we could hit where having enough immigrants in could cost us more than we are gaining the benefit from them paying their working taxes. But we are nowhere near that threshold yet. So far, right now, illegal immigrants contribute far more to the system than they soak up from the system, especially because this notion of immigrants getting money from the government that he was going into. Also, I thought it was funny. He said 30 or 40 instead of like 30 or 40 million, I'm guessing is what he meant. That's just, it doesn't happen. You can't apply for almost any of these benefits unless you are a citizen. And to qualify for the benefits, not only do you have to be a citizen, but you also have to be like dirt fucking poor. I mean, making almost no money, like below the poverty threshold. It is genuinely just brown people are taking my money propaganda that he has consumed that is not actually attached to reality at all. David's an idiot.
They've managed to make you people fearful and exploit your fears. You're afraid that America is being taken over. Oh, they're illegals. They're illegals. Is there a problem with immigration? You bet. Is the solution to deport all of them and dramatically fucking hinder the economy and the civil liberties of all those people? No. What's the right solution? I don't know, but we know enough to know what the consequences of that one are going to be. However, of all the things that are on the list, they just keep giving you things to be afraid of. You're afraid of trans people. You're afraid of gay people. You're afraid of the libs. You're afraid of anything and everything that goes against what you have been told is the right way. But his position isn't even consistent with his own religion and his own book. Jesus says obey the laws. Yeah, and he also says treat the strangers that are living in your land as if they were citizens. Why is it that you want to cite the one verse and ignore the other one? Oh, is it because you're engaged in the same sort of legalism that ended up getting Jesus crucified? The legalism that he spoke out against. But anyway, it's okay, because I'm incredibly frustrated at the number of people who've been going, how can all these Christian people elect somebody who's not Christian at all? That just demonstrates you don't understand Christianity, because there's nothing about, as they pointed out, God used David, even though David was a slaughtering piece of shit. And he's the cornerstone of the foundation of Judaism and Jesus's past. It's all derived from King David. He was a monumental piece of shit, according to the books. But I want to take this call real quick because I genuinely think it's not going to take but about a minute. Carrie in Canada is an atheist, pronouns are he, him. It says here that you've met with Musk and you know what he's planning to do.
Yes, we discussed it.
You and Elon Musk had a discussion about what he's planning to do. I don't believe
and
you.
Good, because it is a crazy story. It was like about 20 years ago. He was living on the end of a street on a cul-de-sac in a basement suite, and I was there changing the furnace.
Okay, I'm muting you. You're saying that Elon Musk was living in a basement on a cul-de-sac 20 years ago.
Yes,
Where?
in Vancouver, in a basement suite, and I met him. He got out of a cab wearing a trench coat, and he told me that he had just had his program that he had written assessed, and he said that he was worth $400 million, and he was living in a basement suite. And yes, I didn't believe him either, but we had this wonderful discussion about what he's planning to do. And part of it really was taking over a portion of the United States in order to usurp the workforce of the United States to build his mission to Mars, to save the world.
Do you think it's going to save the world, Carrie?
Here's the thing. If human beings do not
I'm sorry, that was
Earth,
a yes or no question.
Sorry, yes, it will, unfortunately. No matter how evil this plan is, it's true. It is true. If humans don't leave Earth, we die on Earth. We'll run out of resources eventually. Populations will rise. There'll be nothing left.
I have a question.
If the human...
I have a question, Carrie. Yeah, if it requires mass atrocities to make the human race survive, does the human race deserve to survive?
Absolutely.
I completely disagree. I completely disagree.
I know.
The humans have no right to survive or to the Earth. We just happen to exist here. I like existing. I would love for humans to keep existing. We have no right to exist. If it's going to require some, mass slavery project where we're all building Elon's fucking rockets to get him to Mars, no, humanity should die. And I would hope that at that point, a resistance would rise up and sabotage the entire project because we would deserve to die.
Your ancestors.
I don't give a fuck what my ancestors did.
Exactly.
Okay, you're laughing. I don't think you're serious, Carrie, and you are another person. No, you're not. You're actually completely ridiculous. And I'm done talking to you. Matt, you can continue if you want, but I'm ready to let this person go. They're not serious.
I'm good.
Carrie, Carrie, do you have any way of demonstrating that anything you've said is true?
Well, it happened 20 years ago, and it was a conversation between...
Carrie, an answer to the question.
No, I don't.
Carrie, my question was, Carrie, my question was, do you have any way of demonstrating that what you said is true?
No, I don't.
Why didn't you say that when I first asked you?
I apologize.
That's not an answer to my question either. Why didn't you say that when I first asked you?
Because I think there's an explanation as to, I think the information is important. It has value. In the sense that I do know
how do you know you're right in this, that it's not just a pipe dream or a delusion?
Because when a guy tells you that he's going to build,
how do you know that was the guy?
Because it was him. It was everything.
Because it was him.
Said,
you can tell the way he is, right?
Convincing case.
So cool. Thanks, Carrie. You can tell by the way he is.
Fucking unserious lunatics. Why is this the entire base of Elon and Trump supporters, completely detached from reality? I don't understand what to do about the world anymore, honestly. And this is more of this is a pessimistic thing that's coming out of me, but we just do not deserve to survive as a human species. If Elon is going to be our only progenitor in Mars, God, I hope we fucking die. I hope the entire human race evaporates.
Well, part of the problem here is, I don't believe Carrie, but even if I did, so what? 20 years ago, you met Elon Musk and he told you his plan. I don't care what his plan was 20 years ago. I don't care what he told you 20 years ago. I don't care if you were just absolutely Elon's best friend. All I care about is what is he actually doing now. Because essentially, Elon Musk is a functioning, significant figure within the American government after Trump is inaugurated.
I also think it's just
billionaires buying the country.
I find this whole notion of our ancestors got us here, so we have to continue. So ridiculous. our ancestors fought for us to have a better life, for us to survive, to have a better life. If our lives are doomed to enslavement to Elon Musk, not a better life.
So our next caller is calling from the UK. A theist from the UK is calling to tell me why Trump's victory is great news for America. So, Martijn, why is it great news for America?
Hi, Matt. So in 2023, the Supreme Court, due directly to Donald Trump's appointments, decided to finally grant Asians equal rights in university admissions. Prior to the decision by the Supreme Court, Asians were systemically discriminated against, and I consider that to be grossly unfair. I think it's wrong that your race could be factored into a university admissions process. I think it's wrong that ultimately democratic policies led to so many Asians being deprived of equal rights. So to me, that's a very good reason for voting Trump.
I'm sorry, in 2023, Trump wasn't president.
Yes, you're right, but the Supreme Court appointments he made led to the direct decision to end affirmative action.
But they exist whether those appointments exist whether Trump got elected or not. You say Trump's victory is great news for America, and I asked why.
Yes, because ultimately we can challenge the sort of diversity, equity, positive discrimination nonsense that the Democrats have brought to America.
Okay. Yeah. So you're opposed to DEI.
I'm strongly opposed to positive discrimination, which I regard as human rights violation.
I'm sorry. You can keep spinning this however you want, but you're opposed to DEI.
Well, DEI is a somewhat deceptive phrase, and I think
no, it's not. It's a straightforward phase. But let me ask you this. Why do I care what you think about my country?
Well, you're under no obligation to care what I think. You can hang.
Cool.
Perfect.
Noted.
Bye.
Oh, we said that in sync. That's cute.
That's pretty sweet.
I just
love you.
I want to be really clear. Like, as we go forward into this new age of Trumpism and the potential watchful eye of the government over dissenting opinions, I just have zero interest in talking to these unserious people. We've entertained it a lot, I feel like, in the past year, because there's some good third order effect of like, oh, well, the person watching might eventually come to some sort of conclusion, not the person we're talking to. But they are not serious. They have no interest in like actually engaging in the conversation and the words we're using seriously. They want to play some word fuckery like, oh, Donald Trump helped prevent Asian discrimination, which were Asian people discriminated to some extent by affirmative action policies, the way they were being implemented? Yeah, they were, and that's wrong, and that should be stopped. But that doesn't mean that diversity, equity, and inclusion is wrong. Like, there's just no regard for the words you're using or what they actually mean or the implications of them. It's so fucking dishonest, and I'm just done with it. I don't care about these people anymore. No respect.
Yeah, DEI isn't it's all about quotas that some people like to simplify it as. The reality, I'm sorry, I know that our caller came from the UK, and so they're probably feeling, well, maybe they're not personally feeling guilty for all of the imperialist crap, like the fact that we're dealing with a war in the Middle East, in part because of what the UK fucked up. But not that we've done any better. But here's the thing: DEI in the 70s, early 80s, there was a lot of talk about quotas, and it started in part because not just college admissions, but job positions, and so people started looking into it because it seems that America might have a little bit of a problem with racism and sexism, and that white men being in positions of power and the ones predominantly doing the hiring might be biasing who's likely to get hired and who's likely to get admitted and who's likely to be enrolled. And so recognizing that there may be a problem here, we began crunching the numbers and looking at the data. And some people were like, okay, we need to start having quotas. Like, if you're a business over this size, you need to have this many people of this demographic so that you are more representative of the population at large, so that your sample of employees is a representative sample of the United States. That is an oversimplified and problematic attempt at solving the problem, but it was an attempt. then we move forward, and we should keep moving forward because DEI policies aren't perfect, and nobody's claiming that they are. But the reality is, if you want to make up for the intrinsic racism that is within the system, the systemic thing that isn't the cause of anybody going, I hate brown people, let's shut it down, but apathy toward the plight of others, or apathy towards the fact that you have an advantage others don't. I have buckets of privilege. They're not going to save me in the long run, but I'll probably make it further, faster, better than some other people who are marginalized. If in fact DEI policies are having a negative effect, much like secular humanism, one of the founding principles of DEI policies is to get better at getting better, because the point is to have a system that treats people equitably, a system that only cares about gender and race or ethnicity if they are in fact relevant to the job, and one that makes sure that while we don't say you have to have 3 black women, 2 Asian men, and 4 Polish people on your employment rolls if you have more than 722 employees, those sorts of quotas aren't particularly helpful. But saying, hey, we know for a fact that if you put your resume out with an ethnic sounding name, you're less likely to get a call back. If we've submitted the exact same resumes with different names on them to identify whether or not there's a bias that favors men, whether or not there's a bias that favors Caucasian sounding things, whether or not there's a bias that favors any number of other ways to categorize things. And you know what we found? Shocker. Hang on. Humans have all kinds of biases. Like, we generally start by preferring what we view as our own. Like, we are xenophobic. You look too different from me. You sound too different from me. You have a name that's too different from me. Ooh, I'm nervous. Which neighborhoods do you lock your car doors in when you're driving through? Which neighborhoods do you roll your window up when you're going through? Well, that's just smart. We know the crime's worse there. Yeah, you may in fact be correct that the crime is worse in this neighborhood, but why? And how do you fix that? Maybe if we stop giving the money hoarders the ability to control everything and buy everything, if we stop pretending that the black guy down the street is more of a threat to you than Elon Musk, that the Asian woman down the street is more of a threat to you than Donald Trump or Project 2025, if we stop pretending that, you know what we don't need anymore? DEI initiatives. If we get to that place, but we can't get there. And that's why one of the reasons why DEI issues exist. And someday we may get to be a post-racial, post-sexist society, but we ain't there.
Yeah. I mean, in the civil rights movement, it took legislating racism to affect meaningful change, right? Like it had to be like, it is against the law to discriminate against these people, for racism to internally improve in the populace. We're still an extremely racist country, but it is only better now because of legislation. Like, yes, it's not perfect. Yes, let's refine it. It doesn't mean throw the whole thing out. Anyway.
We've got a couple calls left, and one of them's been on hold for 2.5 hours. I'm gonna put this one on. Tristan, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
I first of all, I did not want to take your call. I did not want to address your question. I did not know you were actually on hold this entire time. So out of respect for your incredible patience waiting 2.5 hours, I am going to push the virtual reset button in my brain with the answer that I wanted to give you. And I'm just going to start over, take it at face value. What is your question? How can we help?
Yes. So essentially what I'm asking for is essentially, especially after this whole election, I've been watching y'all for a long time. I'm trying to go locally and help prop up third parties that I'm actually morally aligned with. Like, for example, I'm a socialist. I'm trying to figure out how to get that first step in there to actually like find people that are like-minded like me and try to actually prop up locally to allow people that I actually want into office. That's essentially, I'm trying to get some advice on that, if that makes any sense.
I have a different perspective, but go ahead. Start. I already know what you're gonna say.
I'll keep my remarks a little short so that Arden can get in with her perspective. I don't know. I've never done that. But my instinct is to find a candidate you like and help promote them and get the word out. It's going to take ages and a massive amount of effort to make third-party candidates viable. They've consistently not been remotely viable. And I don't know that I know how to change that, but I don't know that I want to change that. I mean, I'm all in favor of things like ranked choice voting. I think pushing for ranked choice voting could go a long way towards fixing some of the problems. But I generally don't care about third-party candidates, and I generally find them to be a scam of idealistic grifters who will never have to be held accountable and show that their ideas are actually viable. So, I mean, it just requires work, but I don't know if it's work I can get behind. But Arden, you had a different take.
Yeah, I think there are times where I think third-party candidates are viable, and right now I think it's the best time, right? Because it's the presidential election has passed. I also think on these really critical elections, like the presidential election, it is not the time. I think third-party candidates are far more viable. I'm going to mute you for a second because the kid in the background is making a lot of noise and distracting me. Third-party candidates are far more viable on the state level, like at either the senator, the House, or like the your gubernatorial races or your like city council races. Those are where third-party seats are really impactful, and where you as a person advocating for a third party really have a chance to show the people you are governing that you can provide good governance. So I would say join your local DSA, since you said you're a socialist. If you're anywhere near Houston, I know there's like Secular Houston is another organization that does a lot of political advocacy, and like find a candidate who is willing and able to run for city council under your principles and help them try to do that for a couple of years and see how it goes. If all of a sudden it's not working, change course, try to run for a different seat or try to run with a different sort of party or something. I'm not opposed to non-duopoly parties in principle. It's when it is obstructionist to progress in society, like in the presidential election, that it becomes a problem. And hopefully, if that's successful I'm going to be real with you, I think it's going to be probably a couple decades of effort and successfully maintaining governance over local areas before it's going to be a viable presidential situation. Or, a situation like, not to fucking cite a TV show like an idiot, but like in Madam Secretary, where a sitting incumbent president changes to an independent, that could theoretically happen, but that is like fictional movie shit. I think several decades of building up local seats are going to be far more of a viable path. But I don't think you have to throw third party out altogether. I do think you should be reasonable, though. And if you're like in a race against Ted Cruz, that's maybe also not the time to run a third party candidate. I think that's when you're going to want to, I'm all for advocating for, obviously what Democrats are doing has not been effective. Maybe we start to need to start, emulating some like Bernie Sanders-esque populism to try to appeal to people, because that's what Americans seem to like. And start pushing for that in our Democrats. But yeah, just you have to be mindful of the race you're in and what's happening. And like, even a city council seat is a lot of hours of your life. That's a lot of dedication. It requires somebody who's actually motivated to really make a change in their community. It's good work, though, if you can do it. And a lot of those seats run like uncontested. Only one person runs. And so only one person can win. So there's a lot of opportunity for change, but yeah, it's going to take time, and it can't be a crying fist fight every 4 years. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you necessarily do that. I don't know you, Tristan, but that's what I get from a lot of third party voters. So That was a lot to throw at you. Go ahead and let us know what you're thinking.
I know, of course. I do really appreciate everything you said. I guess just to clarify, I would have voted in this past election. However, I unfortunately wasn't able to. I would have voted Harris. I wasn't able to because my registration wasn't eligible until the 7th. So that's one. However, sorry.
No, that was just a big sigh that, in the most important election.
Well, are you 18?
People who would have voted Harris didn't register in time.
Did you? If you just turned 18, that's different, though.
No, I'm in my 20s.
Okay, well, then that's a little frustrating. Yeah.
You are without excuse.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that, y'all. So just to, I guess, get on a better page, they're saying, for example, if I wanted to get Ted Cruz out of here, it'd be a lot better to try and go Democrat first and then try and prop up a third party to get them a lot better, or are saying for right now just try and get okay.
Yes, you would want to have like a secure blue seat that reliably votes blue before you could contest that, and I think you would want to be working in a city like I don't know how Mayor Watson in Austin identifies his political affiliation, but I know he's an independent. He's a very, very progressive kind of socialist-esque candidate. He's probably more like a libertarian sort of socialist, though. But that's more of a viable seat. Like I really urge you, like city councils, like school boards, things like this that require adults to hold official positions that aren't as damaging for massive swaths of people and can really be an opportunity for a socialist candidate to demonstrate that they can govern and that they can address problems. Because right now, the concern is, why would anyone vote for a Green Party candidate? They haven't demonstrated that they can lead. They haven't actually gained any sort of meaningful, like, a following from people. Same with the Libertarian Party. Like, and I probably am a socialist, although I hate political labels. But same with socialists. How many socialists are actually holding office in government? Like, virtually none. Maybe you can make the case that Bernie and AOC are socialists, but they're in the Democrat Party. So it really has to be a local level first. Build up a strong coalition in your area and show that people in your area go, wow, this socialist city council leader actually really got some shit done for us. And I would vote for them for the mayor of the city. And that's how you have to work your way up. You can't start at the presidency.
I know, I agree. Like I said, I've been watching it for a while, so that's why I was trying to ask for like locally first, just so we could prop it up to a federal level.
First thing you need to do is register to vote.
Right.
No, yeah, of course, yeah.
But to be fair, when I evaluate all this stuff, for example, every year is Texas going to go blue? Is Texas going to go blue? Ted Cruz is awful. Everybody knows he's awful, but he got 5.9 million votes compared to Colin Allred's 5 million votes. That's almost 1 million votes difference between the two of them. You got 971,000 more votes. That's almost an entire, portion of one of the bigger cities in there. I mean, I don't know what El Paso's population is, but Texas is huge. Yeah. We had a Colin Allred sign in our yard. I was optimistic and hopeful that we could move the needle a little bit, but we didn't. But one of the things that you're saying on the third party stuff, in the primaries and the early elections, vote your conscience, get out and support whoever. If your candidate's a Green Party, Libertarian Party, I don't give a shit what party they're in. I care about the policies. And I care about, at each stage of the game, what is the best course of action?
Yes.
And if the best course of action for making third party viable results in a complete fascistic takeover, then it wasn't the best course of action. And so I'm less interested in making third party candidates viable as I am for making sure that we're consistently voting for the better option, whether it's a third party or Democrat or Republican or whatever. But if your focus is on, I want to make third-party candidates more viable, congratulations. You now know what it's like to be an atheist activist or a secular humanist activist. Because you could look at the world as, there's Christians and Muslims and other, and then atheists. How do I make the atheist acceptable to people? I don't know. I don't know how you get somebody excited about Green Party or Libertarian Party. I don't know. You've got a marginalized, minimal position that a fraction of the population actually supports. And so basically you're saying, how do I get more people to like what I like? And the reality is you might be able to move the needle on getting some people to like what you like. But the reality is that right now, there aren't enough people that like what you like. And there aren't enough people that like what I like. And there's not enough people that like what Arden likes. And so you make the best choice that you have at the time. It would be, trust me, we'd have, a Senate full of Bernie Sanders if it was up to me. Actually, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, others. And I'm not even that worried about labels. I don't care, independent, Democrat, libertarian, green, socialist, non-socialist, democratic, social. I don't give a fuck. What I care about is, of the available choices, which one is better for on the whole, and sometimes it's going to be more difficult. This is why I'm so monumentally depressed right now, because there are going to be times where the difference between the two candidates is marginal, where, neither one of them's really going to do much on Palestine. Neither one of them's really going to do much on this other issue. You just make a list of issues. And when you go down the checklist, it's like, do I value the price of eggs as 1.2x number of illegal immigrants? How are you doing the math, weighing those things? But in this election, I don't see how it could have been more obvious. I don't see, what issue is Trump better on? None that I know of. Abortion, if you're anti-abortion, but I mean, it's how do you get people to care enough to vote? I think instead of focusing on third-party candidates, I think maybe focusing things on ranked choice voting or fundamental changes, the elimination of the Electoral College. I think those things are probably better across the board for everybody, except for Republicans. And now we're going to have a Republican president with a Republican Senate and very likely a Republican House backed by a Republican stacked Supreme Court. There are people saying, they're going to make it so you don't have to vote anymore. Well, Trump said that specifically to Christians that weren't voting. He's like, we'll take care of it and then you won't have to vote anymore. They didn't say they're going to take away voting because they don't have to. They don't have to take away voting. They have all the power and they can implement racist voter ID laws. They can implement gerrymandering of districts across the board and make it so that Democrats never get elected. You don't have to shut down democracy if you can maintain the illusion of democracy. And so that's what they're going to do. And if you've read Project 2025, that's the type of stuff that this outlines. They have their ideals that even Trump thinks are too far, like porn should be illegal. I mean, that's part of Project 2025. Porn should be illegal. Is that part going to get implemented in the next 4 years? I would bet every dollar I have that porn will not go away or be illegal in the United States in the next 4 years. None of us are thinking that every aspect of Project 2025 is going to be implemented. But that's the goal. And when you set a lofty goal like that, progress towards it is the good, according to moving towards your goal. And until that changes, I don't care if any third party, it's like, let's burn it all down. Okay, fine. I give up. Let's burn it all down. That's why I suggested earlier. I mean, thankfully, I've got friends like Jimmy to be like, you forgot about this, because my initial view was, ooh, if we give them everything they want in the economy, but stand, directly in opposition on social issues, maybe in 4 years, when we say, are you better off than you were 4 years ago, we'll win on both counts because we gave them everything they wanted on the economy and it still blew up the deficit, still increased inflation, all of the things the economists say they're going to do. But Jimmy reminded me that, oh, no, the Waltons can just lower the price on eggs whenever they want. Even if they lose money, which they're not, they'll just make slightly less money. And it's good for them to make slightly less money, to make the American people think that the people running this are doing a good job, so that as soon as we vote the way they want, they can raise the price again.
Yeah. The only thing I want to add on to that for Tristan is that on the note of voting your conscience in the primary, I think it's important to note that even in primaries, you really have to do a risk analysis, right? Like, think of yourself as like a doctor in a wartime scenario. You're doing triage, right? I want you to be able to vote your conscience. Well, let's say we've got Donald Trump running, or Vance, let's say in 2028, right? He's not really the incumbent, but he kind of gets a little bit of that incumbency advantage. And the Dems have two candidates, and there's a third party candidate you really, really like. But let's say that one of the Democratic candidates has most of the democratic values, but they're anti-climate change. And the other one is all the values and they're pro-climate change, and they're really, really fucking close. At that point, again, it sucks, but this is what a democracy is. You have to then swallow your pride and not vote your conscience and recognize that the chance of the anti-climate change Democrat would be far greater than or is so great that you ought to vote for the not your preferred candidate, but the one that is the best world, that has the best chance at getting in. All of this is like a game of chess. Sometimes you have to hang a rook in chess, right? And you don't want to because that's a good piece and you really want to keep up, you want to keep it. But sometimes the best way to get your opponent in a position where you can win is to sacrifice a pawn, is to let go and say, I'm going to put this piece in a line of fire where it's guaranteed to get taken, because then I get to take their queen, and then I have basically won the game, and they'll probably even resign. Like, you have to think of this stuff strategically. Voting is, at least in our current situation, it is all about strategy. It's not about sending a love letter to the candidate you're voting for. It's not about endorsing every principle that they stand for. It's about making the best decision for the most people.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's like, until a third-party candidate is actually viable, there's literally no reason to vote for them, which is why I guess I'm trying to advocate a little bit for probably up third parties, because that's what I do align myself a lot more with. But until they are actually viable, there is no shot that I'm going to be voting for them, because, like I'll say, is like, that's just throwing away your vote and essentially just giving the opposition the win.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, I even struggle some bit because I don't agree with everything that the DSA stands for, and a lot of like local DSA chapters will take positions on candidates or issues that I feel like are naive and problematic. And like, I agree with the principle of what the DSA stands for, but what it leads people to do is the problem. And I don't know, but like, also, if you're in a situation where you know that like the polling is showing 98% chance Biden is going to be the nominee for the DNC for the election, or not Biden, but, you know, any candidate, almost certainly there's no chance any of the other candidates running for the DNC have a chance of becoming the nominee. In that case, absolutely vote your fucking conscience, vote for whoever you want, because it's the primary and it doesn't matter. But you have to just be paying attention to what's going on and the dynamics of the individual race. Like, there's no, unfortunately, one size fits all recommendation for how to operate in these things. You just kind of have to be educated on the systems and how they work and what the dynamics are with the given candidates that are available to you.
All right. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say thank y'all very much for the advice and everything that y'all have been giving me. I really do appreciate it. Just to make sure I'm on the same page. So you mentioned the DNC a whole lot. I'm gonna look into that. I'm actually in Dallas, so I'm looking to see like what I can do over here and try and get with people. Like I've already gone for like friends and family, friends of family, and all that stuff. Try to talk to them and get them actually to go along with this as well, and like actually vote for who you want to, because unfortunately a lot of them really did not. And I suppose like more so like what I was going in here is try to get advice on like the best way to try and convince people, like not just voting for the third party, but just in general. Unfortunately.
Well, stick around and watch, because I don't think we know the answer to that question, how to get people to vote. And that is something that the Democrats and people on the left are going to be talking about a lot for the next 4 years, the next 2 years, really. I mean, the midterms are the most important focus right now. And so there's going to be a lot of discussion on what the Democrats did wrong, what we can do better, what kind of candidates we have to run. I don't know what the solution is to get people to vote right now, but we will definitely be working on that. And I'm sure we'll be letting you guys know as soon as we have a clearer idea of what we think the best method is.
Yep. I got to move on, Tristan. Thanks.
All right. Thank you all very much. I'll call in again. All right.
Yep.
Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks. Oh, we got one more caller to get to today, but I want to address, I mentioned how the porn was going to be illegal, and people are like, oh, it's illegal in Oklahoma and it's banned in Oklahoma. No, porn's not banned anywhere in Oklahoma and in Texas. There are identification requirements. They pass these as a way of saying, oh, we got to make sure that kids can't access porn. And so all it's actually done in Texas, and I'm pretty sure in Oklahoma, is teach people how to use a VPN. Or in my case, I don't go to Pornhub. I don't go to Pornhub or any of its affiliates, which is funny because that means that the porn sites that are following the rules are losing customers to the ones that don't follow the rules. I can, without any VPN running, pull up all kinds of porn here right now. I mean, the internet is for porn. It didn't get put into the song in Avenue Q because it was false. It's because it's true. So porn isn't banned, but there are restrictions. And so that ends up shutting down some of the sites. But it's completely unfair and everything else. It's like, oh, wait, well, we need to get kids to where they don't have access to it. Look, I'm very fine with the notion that we need to protect the little ones, the younglings from, Lord Vader. But the reality is, I first saw pornography at a shockingly young age and didn't care at all when I first saw it. Then a couple of years later, when puberty hit, all of a sudden I cared. And I remember finding a wee magazine, OUI, hidden in the woods behind my house.
Oh God.
And that magazine at, I don't know, 12, 13, whatever, that magazine was well looked at because it was the only porn that I had any access to. But I found a place, got it hidden, and you go back out there. I survived. I'm not remotely arguing that we shouldn't have ID laws on these. I would like for access to certain things to be age restricted, same as we do for driving or voting or any number of other things. But let's not pretend that they banned porn just because, you have to load a VPN or actually use one of the ID services to show that you're an adult. Because if you just did that, like if you just got one of the ID services, you wouldn't have to even use a VPN, but you can use a VPN to get around it. It's basically that the old people are scared and they're not tech savvy. But here's the frustrating thing for me. Young people voted for Trump, and they did it in droves. And I think they did it primarily because of TikTok. I think that the TikTok model of, let me give you a super quick thing that is amusing and educational, is the next step from Comedy Central. It used to be we would get our news from, this is Walter Cronkite, or some other news talking head who didn't ever inject their opinions on anything. And they would just be like, today this happened. And they would tell you what happened. But you could occasionally see the hint of emotion through, when they're reporting on the Kennedy assassination and things like that. We moved on from that to having cable news as a marketing thing where it's 24 hours a day, which means we're going to get all the stories, including the ones that none of us should be giving a half a fuck about. And that changed the way we view news, both from a reporting standpoint and from a consuming standpoint. And that's why I get a good chunk of my news. Thank you for making that noise there. I get a good chunk of my news from comedians. Jon Stewart, Seth Meyers, John Oliver. Those guys are, if you watch John Oliver, they're doing investigative reporting like you'd see on 60 Minutes, just funnier. And because of that, it resonates with some people. The next step from that is TikTok. But TikTok is actually about mocking as much as anything. And so it's like, look how dumb the libs are. Look how dumb the libs are. And it gives you this thing, this short little dose of dopamine hit of, ooh, yeah, they're the bad. And when you scroll through 1,000 of those, it changes what your perception of reality is. I'm not calling for banning TikTok. What I'm saying is that the way we consume media has changed, and the way we get our information has changed. And that's why there were people on election day Googling, did Joe Biden drop out of the race? That's why there were people who voted for Trump who were like, wait, Project 2025 was real? Wait, I thought this was just a joke. I thought that we have a busy world, and it takes effort to learn things. It takes effort to be adequately informed, not even greatly informed. It takes effort to be adequately informed. It takes effort to be not quite informed enough. You've got to sift through mountains of crap because the signal to noise ratio is incredibly low. It's all mindless pablum and nut shots, and here's kids getting slammed. I love those videos. As long as the kids come out right in the end, if some little kid fucking fell off a swing and got up and stood up and dusted themselves off, and their parent came over and bopped them in the head on the next swing through, and those are hilarious as long as you know everybody's okay. It's why we like tragedies, because it allows us to associate with bad things without experiencing the bad things, because it's play acting. It's the reason we like horror films. We don't like horror films because we're all secret monsters wanting to, lock people in a room and have them fight. Well, maybe, all right, some people, but not most people. We've got to make changes. And I mean this, when I say we, I don't mean Democrats. I don't mean leftists. I mean all of us. When we are representing atheism, secular humanism, when we're representing socialism, when we're representing economic positions, we need to change the way we're presenting stuff. And we need to get involved in here's a small dose backed by something real that makes you laugh and makes you think. Final call of the day. Let's see if we can help. Mike in Toronto, an atheist, pronouns are he, him. You're having a problem, and we'll see if Arden and I can help at all.
Yeah, I'm reaching out to you guys. Hopefully you can save me. I've been an atheist now for over 20 years, and I got to tell you, I've never been happier, or as Seth always says, never felt more comfortable in my own skin. It's a good place to be, but I've been getting really freaked out lately about prophecy. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, and in SDA eschatology. Now, here's the thing. I went to school to be a pastor. That's what I did for university. And I'll tell you, that was in 1991. So that's 30 some odd years ago. And what we were learning was in the end of time, in America, specifically America, because that's the big powerhouse, there's going to be an uprising of Christians that aren't really Christians. They didn't use the word Christian nationalist then because it didn't exist. But
they didn't use the word America either.
Sorry?
They didn't use the word America either.
In 1991?
No, in the prophecies.
Oh, no, they didn't use the word America, no. But the Christianity I'm just telling you what we learned in school, okay, how it was interpreted. The Christianity is going to take control of the United States. And the next thing that's going to take place is Sunday law, Adventists with their whole Sabbath thing. Sunday law. And if you look at Project 2025, there is, in fact, a Sunday law. You have to have X amount of Sunday worships per year. Now, if that becomes law and people don't want to do it, then the next step is going to be that people that don't want to do it aren't going to have the ability to buy and sell, which we know in the next few years we're going to be in a cashless society anyway. So putting all these pieces together, it's really freaking me out, man. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to make of it.
I think you're putting more pieces together than are actually there, Mike.
Well, these are the pieces that we would talk about, and like I said, it's many years ago, and now it's all kind of like happening. So I'm a little freaked out.
So a whole bunch of people used to talk about what they thought was going to happen, and now some of it's happening. How is that prophecy and not just a plan that is being brought to fruition?
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming with that. The only problem I have is that Sunday law is a big deal. It's the mark of the beast according to Adventism. So the fact that Sunday law is going to be ushered in, and then the potential that there will be economic hardships, the next thing is
you're saying going to be. I don't see any reason to think that we're going to be mandated to go to church.
Well, Sunday law is in Project 2025. You can read up on
Project 2025. We already know. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, well, I'm saying though, if SDA eschatology is correct, then what will happen next is that there will be severe economic hardships in the United States and a big religious resurgence amongst the people, and they will view that those who are not abiding by the Sunday law are the ones that are going to that are causing these economic hardships.
Sure.
I see the world going that direction, so it freaks me out, man.
It freaks all of us out, but not because there's prophecy. I'm opposed to Christian nationalism, not because it's fulfillment of prophecy, but because it's immoral and wrong.
It's just a really big coincidence, right? I mean, that's what it is, right?
It's not a coincidence. If I tell the waiter I'd like my steak medium rare and it shows up medium rare, he's not fulfilling prophecy. He's doing what I asked.
Well, how does that apply to this?
People voted for Trump.
People voted for this. Well, congratulations. You're now in the minority there. Okay.
So the fact that Sunday is going to be implemented as a worse law does not make you think, well, maybe the Adventists have it right?
Mike, I'm not convinced that that's actually going to happen. I don't.
Well, I don't know that they're going to be able to pull it off, but it is in the package.
So what? At what point? What do you think is going to happen that would confirm prophecy?
Well, ultimately, what would happen is those that do not abide by the Sunday law will be...
No, Mike, listen to the question you're asked. I didn't ask about what's going to happen to people after the Sunday law. I asked what would need to happen to confirm that prophecy has been fulfilled, rather than people just were working towards a goal and implemented it.
What would have to happen? Well, the law would have to become entrenched as an actual law, and then
that would prove that it was prophetic. So a law getting implemented proves that it was. Would you listen?
All right.
You say you're worried about prophecy, and that maybe these prophecies from God are coming true, which would confirm that there's a God, right?
I don't know. I don't want to believe there is.
I don't care what you want to believe now, Mike, because we don't believe things based on what we want to believe. And if you're going to call in and say you're concerned about prophecy, and I spend time to talk about how we would demonstrate that prophecy was actually coming true, so that maybe this stuff, versus, hey, this is just people implementing stuff, and you're like, I don't know, but I think it freaks me out. Okay.
Well, no, I don't
Try
want to. I
decaf.
don't want to be in a position. I don't want to be in a position to say, "Oh, maybe there's a God," because I'm very strongly convinced that there isn't.
Mike, I'm done, because the way you're thinking right now is the most rigid bullshit that I can imagine. You're like, oh, I don't want to think about that because I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure what you're driving at, Matt. I'm saying that the process of events and current affairs are freaking me out because they're coinciding with what I learned 30 years ago. It's freaking me out. How can it be taking place? It's just a coincidence, I hope.
It's not a coincidence. They've been working for this for all these years. How many fucking ways can I say this? It's not a coincidence.
Who's been working on this for all these years?
Excuse me?
Christian
Who has
Nationalists.
been working on this?
Christian Nationalists, the Heritage Foundation, tons of organizations, wall builders. This is what they've been working on since you first heard about it. But it doesn't mean that there was a God that made prophecy. It just means there were people who were doing what they thought God wanted this whole time. And they're winning.
Mike, when those prophecies were first made, do you think there was probably several events in history that Christians historically looked at and said, wow, this is a fulfillment of that prophecy? But when you went to school in the 90s...
I know.
Wait, hold on. Let me do the line of questioning. Just answer what I ask, not other stuff. You agree. People in the past probably projected this prophecy onto other events that happened in the past, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. And when you went to school in the 90s, because all those events came and went, and people went, oh, okay, it couldn't have been that one because that event came and went, and the coming of God didn't happen. But Christian nationalists have been working at this for a very long fucking time. Since long before the 90s, Christian nationalists have been working. They might have not always called themselves Christian nationalists, but they have been working on this for a long fucking time. So you go to school in the 90s, and they start to now say, well, the real, application of this prophecy is going to be when this similar event happens in the U.S. How is that not just Christians repeatedly projecting the prophecy onto whatever circumstances are happening around them?
Yeah. No, you know what? You're absolutely right. You know what? When I'm talking to you guys, I start to view myself while I'm saying it out loud rather than just thinking it. And yeah, you're right. You're making more sense than I am. I guess it's just, you know what? I got to tell you, I'm a Canadian, but I'm distraught over this election, and I guess that just put my mind in that state to start thinking weird things. But I just cannot believe that we allowed our world to get to where we got to the other night.
I hear you, Mike. But just I think. But let's assume that you're right. Let's assume that this is the fulfillment of biblical prophecy, right?
Okay.
Does it make any fucking difference in what we have to do about it? Or are the same people going to die, and are the solutions going to be the exact same?
Yeah, you make a good point.
Right. So let's even just grant that this prophecy is real. It's real. That's why all of this is happening. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. We still have to do all of the same stuff. All the same people are still going to suffer for all the same reasons. It doesn't matter whether it's prophecy or not. And you already acknowledged that this is just a recurring trend of Christians projecting prophecy on the events that are happening around them. At pretty much every level you could conceive of this. Don't get me wrong, Mike. I'm also fucking terrified. We're making plans to move, and I like where I live. I don't want to have to move, but it's a matter of safety at this point. It sucks. It's a terrible situation, and we have to combat it. But getting lost in the sauce of, oh my God, is this religious prophecy, doesn't even make a difference, even if it's true, and it's very clearly not true. So
yeah. That's the key, is that it's not true.
Well, that is part of the key. But
you guys are planning to. Sorry, I don't mean to interject like that. You guys planning to flee the country?
Not the country, just the state.
Oh, okay. It's terrible. It's just terrible. I just cannot. I don't know. I still haven't really absorbed it all, that it really happened what happened. I just can't believe this.
Pro tip, Mike,
I just can't believe
don't
this.
process
The world's
it
so-
with us. Process it with a therapist.
Okay.
Process it with
Got
a
it.
professional who can help you deal with that,
Got it.
because we're not mental health professionals, and this is
Got it.
a deeper issue.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate your time, and all the best.
Likewise,
Okay,
Mike.
thanks.
See you later.
One nation under Canada.
I will tell you, my patience for non-Americans calling in to comment on U.S. stuff is going to be very thin.
Yeah. Help! I'm
was sick of
freaking
it.
out. Stop freaking out. You're supposed to be our safe space to run to.
Right.
I have people. To be fair, by the way, that's the last call. I already closed this down, and I don't want to go on much longer because Arden's got to produce another show tonight. The Sunday show after dark is going to start in 2 hours, and she's going to need a break for that. So let me wrap things up really quickly. First of all, there's the Shuck the Fut Up shirt that Arden's wearing right now. It's going to be available for the next 24 hours, and then I think there's another opening coming because we are doing next weekend a fundraiser for the Secular Student Alliance. Please tune into the fundraiser. Try and have fun with us. We'll be doing a bunch of stuff. Don't forget about that. Don't forget that you can go to linemerch.com to find all of this merch, and you can support us at patreon.com/calltheline. I got a bunch of really interesting messages this week. I had people reach out to me from all around the world. So thanks so much love to Annie and Pete and others. I've had offers of places to live temporarily. I'm sure in Canada and Nova Scotia and Australia. I'm pretty sure. Like I'm tempted to maybe just move to South Africa since they sent us Elon Musk. I figure maybe I could go to South Africa, get introduced to a different collection of reptiles and snakes. We could really turn the market on African house snakes up. Once we get exporting stuff. But they're asking if they can see the full shirt, if there's anything underneath the
there's not.
the
Yeah,
clam
it's
there,
just
but
you got the clam with the little thing over its mouth and the text.
we're shucking
It's on
some
the
clams
website.
here.
You should go to linemerch.com. That has the full design. You can look at it there. And all the different colors.
So we've received some really nice remarks from people. I'm still incredibly raw, which is obvious from how quickly I'm yelling. And there would be zero yelling if people would just engage honestly and answer the question they were asked. Like genuinely, find a time where I asked someone a question and they honestly engaged and got yelled at. It just doesn't happen. Unless I got bit by something right then at that moment. But the United States of America has just begun a terrifying descent. And there are people talking about, ooh, you'll survive. You made it through the last 4 years. Yeah, but this 4 years is different. The first 4 years, we had the opportunity to look at our fellow citizens that elected him and say, ooh, they weren't serious. They were joking. They didn't know. They were, sexist. They really didn't like Hillary. They didn't want, her, all these things. In 2016, we had lots of ways to rationalize this, but also Trump didn't think he was going to win in 2016. And so he wasn't prepared. So he went months without filling a number of positions and then ended up firing people left and right because that's what he does. And didn't really implement much in the way of legislation that was meant for the country. He did ban trans people from serving openly in the military, which of course reversed when Biden got in. And I imagine it will reverse on day one, along with some other things that he's claiming that he wants to do, like say that there's only two genders and your gender will always match what's on your birth certificate and you can't do anything to stop that. He's putting RFK Jr. in charge of public health. This is an anti-vaxxer, lunatic conspiracy theorist who wants to end vaccines and fluoridation and water and all kinds of stuff. Science and reality have been completely marginalized. We American citizens had the opportunity to teach girls that they should be respected and valued, that they have power and can accomplish things, and that character matters and that integrity matters. And instead, we taught them your body, my choice. And instead, we taught boys that they can lie and rape and steal and cheat and still be amongst the most powerful people in history. We are sending all the wrong messages. And so when people are like, oh, you'll survive. Yeah, I probably will. I'm not objecting to this based on whether or not I'm going to survive. I'm worried about other people surviving. But more than that, this is the beginning. They don't have to implement all of Project 2025 on January 20th, and they won't. Because if they implemented all of it on January 20th, there would be a revolt. And the 2026 elections would flip everything blue. So that's not what's going to happen. They're going to turn the heat up gradually. Incremental, small steps. They have the full power base. They have gerrymandering. They can get rid of the filibuster. They can control all the houses of government. They can implement we're doing this for the good of America. We're just too worried about our children. We need to take this step to protect the children. We need to take this step to protect the children. We need to take this step to protect the future. And they implement one little thing and another little thing. And when 2026 rolls around, because we're still riding from an improved economy, thanks to the Democrats, he'll take credit for it. And in 2 years, they'll say, aren't y'all better off than you were 2 years ago? And most people will probably say something like, yes, or at least I don't want to go down that liberal road. And then in 2024 or 2026 and 2028, as we do the next election and the next one, we've lost the Supreme Court for generations. There are 2 Supreme Court justices that I guarantee you will be retiring while Trump is in office. He will be appointing replacements for Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito at a minimum. And I guarantee you, they will put up young, fascist, authoritarian Christian nationalists, and they will get them approved because they control the Senate. We've lost the Supreme Court for more than a generation. Now, I host this show and a bunch of other shows, and this show's a Sunday show. This was supposed to be about call in and demonstrate your good reason for God. What do we get today? Well, we got, I believe in God because I feel it. Can't prove it to any of you, but I feel it. And I believe in God because I believe that logic needs a necessary grounding. And so I'm going to go with God as the necessary grounding. That's it. There's no valid and sound argument for the existence of God supported by evidence. We didn't learn anything new about God. We didn't learn anything new about Christians or theists. We learned they don't know their Bible. People calling in, oh, the world's going to be better. The world's going to be better. It's not. Well, it's going to be better for me. No, that's where you're wrong too. Because the people who think that they're on the good side, they're the ones that are going to be safe. You fucked up. You just don't know yet. There's a reason we don't want mandated prayer in school, even if we're religious. It's because there's no guarantee that the prayers we want in school are the ones that are going to end up there. Individual liberty and freedom that allows you to say what you want to say and follow the religion that you want to follow to the extent that you're not impacting other people's lives. That's proper First Amendment separation of church and state. That is the world that allows, an atheist world allows you to be a Christian. A Christian nationalist world does not allow me to be an atheist. Oh yes, it can't get in there and force me to believe yet. It's not dictating the contents of my mind, just what I'm allowed to do and say and speak out about. Trump's already said he's going after newspapers, which is why the news media, the new news media of Bezos and Zuckerberg sent their congratulations message. And it's why Bezos shut down the Washington Post's endorsement of Kamala Harris. The world is a mess because the United States is a mess. And so it's time to figure out the best ways to make changes. Are we going to get ranked choice voting? I don't know. Are they going to put a chip in all of us and then, claim it's... No. The mark of the beast that they wear on their forehead is a red hat that says, "Make America Great Again." That's the closest thing we have to a mark on the forehead associated with pure evil. Oh, wait, did you just say pure evil? Yeah, I did. You know why? Because that's what they said about us. At their Madison Square Garden rally, Kamala is the Antichrist. The devil. These people are demonic. They're just using fear. It's the trans folks. No, it's not. They're demonic. No, we're not. They're coming for your kids. They're groomers. No, we're not. They want people to be equal. Yes, we do. Those people are afraid of losing their privileged position in society. And they know it's going to happen. And they know that someday they're not going to be treated as better than or preferable to another human being merely by accident of birth or geography. And they're terrified of that day, and other people are exploiting their fear of that. They're coming for your ex. They're coming for this. They're coming for that. That is not the case. I genuinely hope that all of you are safe and that you have community outside of this community that will help you feel safe and work towards at least weathering what's getting ready to come. But if you don't have a community outside of this one, I'm glad you found this one, and we appreciate you watching this through the frustration and everything else. On that note, Arden, I love you. Let's end the show.
Oh no. Oh no. I'm not on the credits. Wait. Hold on.
Now it just looks like I just love Jimmy.
There we go. I'm back. I fixed it.
Look at all those
everything. Fuck all these stupid ass callers.
And our mods.
Just kidding. Bye guys.